And we are recording. I don't know if you saw the thumbnail. But we
What?
are. I don't know if you saw the thumbnail I made for this.
No.
No, it's you and me as Soviet generals.
Oh,
Um,
that's fucking awesome.
yeah, no, it's
That's
I'll
awesome.
I'll text it to you
I,
right now. Um, yeah,
yeah.
for anybody listening, so this is Commissar Lanci, and I don't know what would I be? I guess like I don't know Politburo head. I don't know what's some
Politburo, right? Yeah,
commissar. I don't know fucking comrade.
yeah.
Whatever.
I'm
Listen,
totally coming.
yeah, listen. We are bloodthirsty communists, and this is the episode about Cold War II. And today's Saturday, June 10th, 2023 at 2:22 p.m. Eastern time. But we were just talking beforehand about like why do I keep having on all these doctors and shit talking about bioweapons and DTRA and BARDA and DARPA and all that. And I was telling Vince, it's like I never once really gave a shit about any of this. It was just when I started talking about it, YouTube started telling me you can't talk about that, and I was like, yeah, you're not going to tell me what I can. That's still like the teenage asshole in me. I was like, you're not going to tell me what to do, and that's
Right.
why I keep pursuing it, and that is literally it. And so you were just talking about beforehand, about this episode, kind of geopolitics and how it's a seed and these discussions are. And then I rudely cut you off and said, let's start recording. So for everybody
No,
listening, go into the description, go follow him on Twitter, but please continue your train of thought. Good sir.
no. Well, first of all, the picture's very funny. I love this shit.
Thank you.
So, so we were talking about the Streisand effect, and I know we're going to get into the whole Cold War II and geopolitics, but it's kind of fascinating. These guys, they create the competing market by alienating the
Yeah.
other side of the story. I mean, it's obvious, right? It's
Yeah.
obvious, right? And 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 I think it's kind of cool that you've created this safe space, for all the for all the I'm saying that laughing, it's a safe space for conservatives now. Anyway,
Politically incorrect assholes. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh shit. Okay, so where are we going to start? Geopolitics to
Uh,
Cold War?
well, no. Well, first of all, let's not put a fucking label on anything. We can talk about whatever the fuck we want. If we try to guide the conversation, it's gonna be like dog shit. So just kind of ride it naturally. But so this idea,
Okay.
and Vince is kind of warmed up to it more so than anyone else,
Oh yeah.
is this idea of Cold War II, which isn't a novel idea, and it's certainly not my idea. But I was really trying to just look at. I love reading about the Cold War. And I always point this out when we look back at things 80, 90, 100 years ago. History is very neat and concise. World War One started, World War One ended, and then the Great Depression. It's all this shit, and it's all bookmarked, and there's chapters and color pictures and documentaries. But when it happens, you never know you're in it. And you have to look at something like, I mean, even the time between Hitler being elected chancellor and the Nazis invading Poland was, I mean, that was north of 6 years, right? That's a big
Right.
chunk of time. We don't think about it. We just go, yeah, that was the buildup. And then the war goes 39 to 45 when we go, and then there was the war. So
Right.
6 years, man, that's double the time it's been since COVID was released. So I'm trying to look at, and I've been trying to do this for the last couple of years, is to look at this current era as if I'm looking at it from 50 years from now. And to my best understanding, this is what's happening is we're pushing is we released COVID. I think we did, or China did, but I think we did. Regardless, doesn't matter. It's going to be blamed on China.
Right. Right. Intentional, accidental, or calculated. There was an
It's
opportunity,
been done, and
and people said, "Cool,
yeah,
we can take advantage of it."
we are wanting to expand NATO. We want Russia to be belligerent. We want to put them in a box so that they have to fight away from the box, and then we can go, why are you acting so belligerent? And it's like, well, you cornered the animal. We know Russia is not nearly as strong as it was as the Soviet Union, which itself was, kind of a big shadow. And there's no other option for them but to go into the arms of China. We know China. We know that we outsourced all of our industrialization capacity to them, and they've been growing and growing and growing. And now, I mean, they spend 250 billion a year. They're only at 1/3 of what we spend on our military. They are getting bigger. Their economy is massive, and they're expanding, and they're trying to win over the hearts and minds of the world with the Belt and Road Initiative. And by the way, none of this is like me condoning this. This is just me watching it objectively. We are the empire. We are more technologically advanced for all of our flaws. We are armed to the fucking teeth. We're the strongest military the world's ever known. We're looking at China. We're going, they are too big. We are too fat and porn addicted and drug addicted assholes to actually compete with them in the free marketplace.
We're fat Muhammad Ali.
What we can do is kill them, and that's what we're going to do. And I don't know if it's going to work, but it's what we're going to do. Now, it's very difficult because when Trump was in office, we said that Trump is a Nazi and we said that Trump is a xenophobe against China, and everyone marched along with those orders. And now we're in this funny spot. We kind of got to reverse that. Trump is a Nazi, Trump is a xenophobe against China, and Trump wanted to get NATO to pay more money. Well, now we're kind of taking all those Trump points, and we're making NATO pay more money so we can back Ukraine, which, by the way, is full of Nazis. Now, the retards who cheered on Biden have no short-term memory. So they just go, yeah, we're going to support the Nazis now. They don't think for a second that for 4 years we called Trump a Nazi. It is going to conveniently come out, I would imagine, sometime this year, as I think the Senate passed a bill yesterday that said we have to defend Taiwan if China incurs on them. It's going to conveniently come out in a couple months or years that China was indeed released COVID intentionally, and everyone's going to forget for a moment about being a xenophobe, and they're going to say China is bad. Russia and China are going to pair up into a new Soviet bloc. That is going to become a new massive army, a new massive group of,
if they haven't already,
right, into 1.5 billion people with a formidable army. They're going to move on Taiwan. We're going to have to galvanize the world. We're getting NATO stronger. And by losing all of our weapons in Ukraine, we are now making an argument that you can't really deny that, well, we need to rearm ourselves. We're pitting the world into a new East versus West paradigm, because when you're in an East versus West paradigm, much like post 9/11, you can shoot through a Patriot Act, no one bats an eye. When we are going against a new Cold War, and we can say they're not afraid to do anything. They'll bulldoze women and children in Ukraine. They'll release COVID and kill your grandma. It's going to be Red Scare 2.0. The new thing, instead of nuclear weapons, are going to be hypersonic and directed energy weapons from orbit. The Space Force is going to be a new strategic air command. And we're going to pit ourselves into this for the next 40 or 50 years, and everyone's just going to be on the same page. We're going to stop the whole left-right division, and we're all going to get on the same page if we got to fight the commies. It's to do that, and we're eventually going to try to drain them and keep the empire going. I don't know if it's going to work this time, but that's my thesis that I managed to get out in about 5 minutes. But that's my thesis, and the more you look at it, the more I feel it is not only viable, but it's increasingly becoming what I think is the only option for the empire.
Right.
And with that,
right.
I'll shut up, and Vince, you share your thoughts.
Well, there's so much that you brought up there. Oh, look, there are a lot of rabbit holes I can go down, but just
grab any of them. You don't need to address all of them. Just grab any.
Well, the first thing I want to do is, as a non-expert, but as a person with common sense, my background is trading energy and trading gold. And if you do those things, as opposed to a U.S. stock investor or a bond, well, even bonds are good that way. You tend to think geopolitically. You have to think about war. If you're thinking about oil, you're thinking about relationships between nations. And so I got pretty well schooled in geopolitics from a guy years ago named Peter Butel. And he's no longer with us, but he was an oil analyst. Now, since then, nobody cared. And I got my education in the mid-90s on this. And then nobody cared. And everyone's talking about interest rates and macro and all that shit. And so you end up learning that as well. But all of a sudden, everybody's talking geopolitics now. And I feel like saying, well, you're just talking about oil. That's a simplistic way to look at it. But that's one of the tools of geopolitics. So when you start talking about Cold War II, well, I'll just throw bullet points out there. Hypersonic, yes, that's and those type of things, the more palatable version of nuclear, right? We are in a race. So technologically, we're in a race with them, right? So it's kind of like I look at things before I start going off on them. I look at things in topics. So you've got the Cold War 2.0 is ideological, it's political, it's information, and it's military. And you touched on a lot of the military. And the thing is, all the military stuff is the end game of everything else. And it starts ideologically. And the East, this is where we are. We've always been like this, but we've had our way because the dollar's been boss. The East has been, call them call them materialist. I mean that like in a they're not into progress, they're not into abstractions, they're into just this is this. Like, you know the movie Deer Hunter, where De Niro's character says to the guy, all right, well, anyway, this is this, right? The East is all about, I care about things like gold, not abstractions like fiat. And the West is all like progress. So ideologically, they're more practical than we are. And we've had our way with, I look at this from a financial point of view. We've had our way with finances, with influencing the world of that. And now all of a sudden, this starts, it's manifest. Here's where this all manifested. It manifested with us overdoing it with the dollar. Okay. So the dollar and the military might that comes with it and the forcing our will on the rest of the world got to be too much. And now basically the East said, we're going to go on strike, right? They said, you know what? You're not paying us enough for our natural resources. You're not paying us enough for our labor. You're not paying us enough for our supply chain. So fuck you. We're out, And by the way, this is what the COVID thing was about. The COVID thing revealed our fragility compared to them. And in this respect. And their fragility compared to us is generally speaking, less innovative, less aggressive, but more traditional in terms of family values too. And you can see that split in the East. In the West now, along value versus wokeism. Anyway, so they go on strike. People talk about it in supply chain terms. They say, you know what? You used to buy $1 billion of rubber from us, and then you make $1 trillion of tires.
Yeah.
And all we would get paid is for the $1 billion in rubber, right? Yeah. And economically, they call that where you are on the supply chain. So they were on the, they grew the rubber, whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah.
And we took it and we innovated it and we did this and we did that. And then we employed 500 salesmen and all these fucking marketers and bond guys. And we made $1 trillion off it. We leveraged, and to our credit, we leveraged up, their raw material. We added value to it. Well, the East, and this is coming from Zoltan Pozar. He explained this cryptically, but I kind of translated it. He's like, the East was like, well, fuck that. We want to be part of the value chain. We want to be part of the adding value. And the West is like, and this is how the conversation goes. West is like, you guys are morons. We're just going to take your rubber and we're going to make tires somewhere else. We'll make it in Germany, right? We'll make them in Germany. And the East is like, you know what? No, you're not allowed to. And this is what's happening right now with lithium. You are no longer allowed to take natural resources from our country out and innovate somewhere else. You have to build the factory here. You have to sell finished products here. And so so this is the China model. The China model is you can't take our lithium or some other country, Indonesia or something like that. You can't take our lithium and make batteries somewhere else. You got to build the battery factory here. You've got to grow our economy here. And so the West spoiled was like, no, we're not going to do that. And so what ends up happening is the wall goes up. And that's the economic, it's about trade. The wall goes up. They're like, you have to build a battery factory here. And we're like, in the West, we're like, you're talking about those chip fab things. We're not going to do that because then they're going to get our secrets and et cetera, et cetera. And before you know it, you're now looking at, blowing up, Taiwan, for shit like that. I mean, that's as a defensive measure. I mean, it's kind of aggressive, but it could happen. So now I'm working towards like your the military end, right? So now you've got this trade is breaking down, right? And when I say West, I mean East as well, but in their own way. But now the West has to sell. This is where the whole Trump versus Biden comes in. Now we have to sell them on the enemy, right? Ideologically, they're this, we're that, we're better than them, whatever, okay? And that's where it goes down. You start drawing the line. They're the bad guys, we're the good guys, okay? The wall goes up a little bit. Then you've got to manufacture, and it may not be manufactured. Then you've got to have a race, right? The space race.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, when Russia sent Sputnik into space, the U.S. panicked. It was like
Eisenhower didn't.
No, well, I mean the population panic, right? Eisenhower did.
No,
Yeah,
no, but what I'm just saying is it's a very important distinction. The 5-star general president said
yeah,
it's a trash can with a radio transponder.
right,
LBJ looked at it and said, I bet I can get people to panic. Sorry,
right.
keep going.
Well, that's I mean, Eisenhower understood the military-industrial complex.
Eisenhower is just the fucking greatest there's ever been. I love him. I have a
He
crush
is
on
a
him.
rock star.
Keep
He's,
going.
I don't even know how much he's done, but yeah, I mean, for an insider to do that. All right, so the space race, right, will be like you said, hypersonic missiles, bio warfare. It'll be satellites in space. That's why Musk is in a powerful position.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be all those things, and more. And one of the things on the pure economic side will be computer chips.
Mm-hmm.
They sound like a simple old, 80s commodity. Who gives a shit about it? But they're not, because if you're using a chip, you're using less oil, using less labor. So that makes you a low cost producer of goods. Our drones are better than yours. I mean, that's basically what's going on, right? So now you've got the economic problem. Basically, the East went on strike and said no, right? Then you've got the battle lines drawn from the COVID as the catalyst. Now you've got ideological, they're bad guys, we're good guys. And now you've got the tech race, right, which is the space race, which is the nuclear power race, all that stuff. That's the new thing. And now you've got the rationale to rebuild and rearm and reshore militarily as well. So, and now you've got this thing, you made a comment that's true. Unfortunately, it's true. It's like, okay, here we are now. It has to go here. It has to go down this path, because now it's like pot odds. I'm in for a pound. I'm in for another penny. Who cares? I'm already in. I'm already in. And this is what I think people don't understand. A lot of people don't understand. But I didn't see the Cold War building. I saw it ending. I got into finance then, and it was like 89. The Cold War is ending. This is what's going to happen. Liberalization of society, globalization of trade, and it happened. And we, smart Americans, got in there and we just owned it, right? Because we already had the dollar, and we just owned the markets. We punished Russia. They got crushed economically, and mind you, most of it was their own doing. We punished everyone that we could, and we kept. You remember, as a kid, everything was made in Taiwan, and then it was made in Japan, and then it was made in Korea, and
Vietnam.
and we're just shopping around for the cheapest labor. And they all just said, you know what? Fuck it. We don't want to do that anymore. Right. So now we're at the point where you're talking about the military thing. And when we first started talking about this, and I've read a couple books since then, the Grand Chessboard, about the geopolitical wars, the skirmish wars are going to happen. And the only new thing that I can bring to this is I feel like Ukraine is Germany.
Yeah.
Meaning it's like
Yeah.
we're building the wall now. There's an
It's the first skirmish of the Cold War.
right, but it's also the East and West. Like here, all right, so the war won't end. The wall will be built, and you'll have an East and West Germany again.
Yeah, with an East and West Kiev or something. Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
And
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right. But the reason I bring that up is because you were like, we have no choice. We're going down this path, which I agree with. And now that there are people out there going, oh, we have no choice. Now it's like, let's more spies, more infrastructure. It's like the anti-Eisenhower.
Well, what we're doing is it's again, I mean, it's kind of evil. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't have a soft spot for the evil empire that we are. I just think it's kind of sexy.
Right.
We're luring them into our home field advantage. We're a shark saying, "Let's go fight in the cold. Let's go fight out in the deep water." Right? And you might be like an orangutan that can, rip a lion from limb, but the shark's like, "Yeah, let's go fight in the pool." I think what we're doing is we're making it an only option for them too. Because up until now, it's no one can take on the United States weapon for weapon. They're too big. We got to beat them economically. We got to beat them with bioweapons. We got to beat them with TikTok. And what we're doing is like, if you guys want to fight, like let's go get in the water. And we're forcing them to. We're not requesting it because they're not dumb enough to do it.
And that's the passive aggressive part you're talking about, where we're saying, let's see if we can goad them into really screwing this up.
Let's bring them into the water And now it doesn't matter how fucking strong your economy is. Now you're fighting the belligerent machine that Eisenhower warned against. So, I mean, we might pull it off. And again, I'm not saying this is like morally or ethically right. I'm just trying to look at it. I'm trying to look at it
You're
like
handicapping it.
it's 200 years in the future, and I'm just trying to understand the textbook.
Yeah,
That's all I'm trying to do. And I think that's what we're going to do. And you probably do back to the Sputnik moment. Yeah, Eisenhower didn't care. Eisenhower's top guys were like, yeah, it's a fucking trash can.
right,
LBJ was like, I'm gonna ride this into power. And I also
right,
have a lot of friends in the defense and space industry lobby it up there, which to his
right.
credit was a great tactic. I think you probably have I think Biden's brain dead. Whoever's in charge around him, whatever placeholder, we'll just call it Biden.
Right.
They're probably getting briefed by the top guys at DARPA going, yeah, it's not really that, whatever. But the American people are scared of it. So we gotta kind of ramp up on it. But I think they're looking at this, and I think they're probably I mean, what about that report that came out? Do you remember that report that came out like fall 2001 or fall? Some general talked about it. He goes, I saw a plan that the United States was going to destabilize 7 countries over the next 20 years who were all somewhat involved with funding terrorism. And this was like 2002, and it's from some general.
Right. No,
And
I don't remember it.
and then over the next 20 years, we destabilized all 7 countries. And it's like, yeah, man, it's not a small thing for us to look 20 years out. And
Right.
so for where you and I might be, we're stuck in this whole, well, who's going to win the election next year? There's probably some fucking flow chart on some flat screen in NORAD.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, by 2030, we'll be in a hot war with China. By 2034, fucking whatever, we're going to merge Ukraine with Poland or whatever. And like, they're probably going to do it. And I think right now is you just move it so slowly so no one's really keen on what's happening. But I mean, what did we just do yesterday? We signed a bill that said the US government must protect Taiwan. If they're up until now, it's all been posturing. It's all been how dare you not? It is now in law. Why did they do that? Why did they do that? Why did they just say it's getting put into law? Why, like a week or two ago, why did half of the Senate get satellite phones? What's going on? I mean, what's
Right.
really going on? Ed Dowd said that the reason they pushed the capless but debt ceiling is for we're getting ready for something. I think we're getting ready to fucking spend our way in a Cold War too, and just
Oh, yeah.
fuck them in the ass. That's what we're doing. I don't know. I don't see any other. What else would it be? What else would we do? The
No, I
World
mean,
War II, Korea, Vietnam, global war on terror, Ukraine. I mean, what do you think we're gonna do? We're some gold digging whore who's had 6 husbands, and every time we get married, we divorce him and move on to a richer guy. You now
that's
see
right.
the gold digger flirting with Elon Musk. What rationally do you think that gold digger is gonna do? We are the war economy. We are the endless war nation. What in God's fucking name do you think we're gonna do next?
Right. Right.
You
The thing is, I mean, even if you don't think that we're warmongers, right? I mean, even if you don't, that's moving it out of the
Sure.
military. Again, it comes back to the military because it's like people look at all these things about why this is happening. They get into the particulars. It's a universal thing, and universal thing is whoever's in power wants to stay in power.
Yes.
The way they stay in power is by fortifying the dollar. Now, this is your point about the 20-year outlook and all that. Being the global reserve currency, we're not going to get into a whole little dollar, this dollar, that
Yeah.
kind of thing, but being a global reserve currency affords us so many mistakes. And so we screw up so many things, big tactics, because we can afford to, because the dollar bails us out. So here's an example of what I'm talking about. And this is about your whole marching towards the inevitable, right? So ideologically, right? I'll speak for the U.S. For whatever reason, we don't like Russia. We see that China wants a bigger spot on the stage, and we want to keep our spot. We, meaning whoever's in power in the West, specifically the U.S. So how can we do that? It's destabilizing countries here and there. That works. But you know what? Now they're all kind of like friends with each other. And by the way, this is an ideological thing. I mean, I use the word a lot because it's really true. We we're under the belief for 50 years that the way to spread democracy, going back to Woodrow Wilson shit, the way to spread democracy was to insert capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that, I mean, it may be obvious to your listeners because they're pretty smart on this stuff, right? If we get capitalism in there, then choice comes. If choice comes, then they end up picking democracy. Now, there were problems with that. In Latin America, you had some detours where you went to despots and you went to authoritarian governments, but they eventually made their way back. Okay. So now you've got this situation going into Asia. So you do it. We proved our point in Vietnam, right? I mean, more or less, right? We've proved our point empirically between the Koreas. South Korea is more prosperous than North Korea. We rebuilt Japan. Now we're like, all right, let's get China, right? And China, which by the way, China is capitalist. Don't let them tell you they're not. They're state-controlled capitalism, which by the way is the Latin America step, meaning like you're going to become state-controlled. And so for the last 20 years, we've been pushing for democracy to land there. Right? The riots in Hong Kong, we can't make it happen, right? It's not happening, right? And so what you have coming out of there now is you have coming out of there this state-controlled capitalism, and democracy isn't working. Now all these fuckers are talking to each other. They're no longer divided for conquering, right? And even Russia, which has a horrible history with China, horrible history, right? They're buddies now, right? And I think I know why. That's because China's like, we got to sell our shit to someone. Maybe the Russians will buy it.
And Russia's resource rich as fuck.
Right, exactly.
Don't forget about that.
It's a good trade partner. Exactly. They're like, Russia is China's third world country now. I mean,
well, no, it's almost kind of hilarious because China was the tick on the body of Russia in the 70s and 80s, and now it's just inverted.
Right. That's it. That's exactly right. I mean, like the cool thing about China is, and I'm talking about after Mao, is China watched the USSR fuck up. They tried to test a little bit of localized capitalism and control it. It didn't work. And China took note of all that shit. And then there's this guy, I'm trying to say his name, Lee Q in Singapore. And he's the guy. There's going to be a statue of him, right? This guy, and I'm using the word strongly, but I mean it. He invents state-controlled capitalism in Asia. So in Singapore, they start the authoritarian government. They rescue the economy, and China starts sending people over there. They're like, how do you do that? You're doing the whole capitalism thing, but it's not voting, and they start copying it. And so China eventually grows to what they are. Russia, meanwhile, whether you like them or not, it doesn't matter. Russia is a post-USSR country being run by ex-communists. And I say this in a good way, meaning apparently the East's method of running capitalism is better than the West. All these state bureaucrats, they're getting it done now, whereas we're still fighting over, which bathroom to use, shit like that. Anyway, so you go through all that, and now we can't get democracy there. And now they're like, you know what? Fuck your democracy. So what do? We double down. It's not just democracy; it's democracy based on color, creeds. I mean, you start pushing those. There was a time where we would have considered invading China over their treatment of the Uyghurs. Uyghur. Right. Now, we don't talk about it. Oh, because we fucking made the Muslims enemies out there. Meanwhile, the Taliban is hanging out with China now because they're all looking at it monetarily. We're looking at it ideologically. That's where they're practical and we're idealistic. I'm not saying ideals are right or wrong, but we're like, cure for, save mankind. It's like we're substituting for God. Really, what it is. Anyway, so long story short, we can't get democracy in there. And I believe this strongly from the research that I'm doing. The West is adopting authoritarian governance. So we're becoming less democratic while they're becoming more capitalist. So it's kind of like, well, Listen, we're going to take away this one freedom to preserve the other ones. It could be worse. It could be China, right? So, Patriot Act, it could be worse. It could be China, and that's what's going to happen. And to your point about destabilizing, if you destabilize all these countries, here's our plan right now. And this is what's going on right now with the whole dollar, tie this all together. Because of the dollar, we make mistakes. And the dollar, although its power is weakening in terms of bailing us out, is still there. And while we're fighting inflation and reshoring and rearming, Russia, speaking about Russia, not China, Russia needs to develop their economy other than just pulling natural resources out of the ground, making bombs and blowing shit up. They can't keep doing that. And China needs them to do that as well. We hope, here's your geopolitical endgame, we hope that Russia really, really, really gets destabilized, because then you've got a nuclear power on China's border destabilized, and then it's their problem.
It's their problem, and they're going to have to shore it up.
Right, exactly. They're going to have to. I mean, look at what happened last week. I mean, I got to bring this up because this all happened last week. Okay, in the last 2 weeks, think about last year with the oil concept. OPEC, fuck you, US. We're going to charge more for oil. We're not going to give it to you for free. Okay, and then we rhetoric back, and there's big problems here. Big problems with the Saudis. Right now, fast forward a year, right, and you've got OPEC. You've got all these little dots that I'm connecting, and they make sense because I've seen them connected before. OPEC says, okay, we're going to cut oil production. But MBS also says he wants to broker peace. Now, I know some of this is lip service, right? He wants to broker peace. Biden doesn't react to OPEC raising, cutting production. OPEC starts complaining about, we're dividing OPEC now. That's the first thing, right? So we're trying, if you look at the BRICS, we're trying to peel them all back, right? So if we get the Saudi Arabians to at least not divorce us tomorrow, we'll be okay, right? Brazil, if we can, I'm not sure how important Brazil is, but politically, if we can solidify our hold with the new left of center politicians there, then we can peel that back. India, easy to peel back. Already peeling back with Russia. No rupees, fuck you, we won't do it. And that leaves Russia and China. And if Russia destabilizes, then China's like, okay, we'll sue for peace now. We'll make Russia do it. Anyway, we have a big plan, and this plan is retaliatory. It's, as you said, it's passive aggressive. Let's see if we can goad them into bombing something.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're gonna have them fuck up in Taiwan. We're gonna have them go fuck some shit up. If they don't do it, we're gonna do it. We're gonna make it look like them. To me, that is without question. Is we are now priming this for there will be an event in Taiwan. Like there will be, it will happen. Whoever does
it even have to happen in Taiwan? What I mean is, those islands that China built,
the artificial ones, yeah,
like it's got to be something like that. Like,
I think it's gonna happen in Taiwan. Like the breadcrumbs are already there, right? Was it last week that like Chinese fighter jet flew in front of an American,
right,
oil tanker or some shit or whatever, right, cut them off and so. And I mean, the writing's on the wall that let me pull up so I just don't keep citing it without having any sources. That
I'm going to send you a couple pictures.
Yeah,
on the chat while you're doing this, because I've got the world upside down from that. It's a really good picture. I mean, see if I can find it while you're doing that.
Senate bill, yeah, Taiwan Senate bill. I think it was yesterday. Let me pull up in the news. The U.S. Senate bill on Taiwan invasion response clears committee. U.S. Senate from Reuters. U.S. Senate panel approves measure to strip China of developing status. That's kind of big. U.S. Senate panel shows warlike mentality in pushing new bill provoking China on Taiwan Straits. Politico. U.S. Taiwan bill sails through Senate panel despite White House misgivings. Senate panel advances bill to bolster U.S. security assistance to Taiwan. CNN. U.S. Senate advances bill to significantly expand Taiwan support. Al Jazeera. All right, I'll pull it up. How do I pull up chat? How the fuck do I do this?
You don't need the picture now.
I'll pull it up. I don't care.
So basically, there's this picture of the world.
Yeah.
By Brzezinski upside down.
Yeah.
And upside down shows how important the Eurasian landmass is. But to your point about Asia, the reason I bring it up now is because there's a circle. It circles the Pacific Rim.
I don't know why it's not
The
pulling up
area
on
in the
my.
circle. Did you open it up yet?
Yeah, I know it's pulled up. I use dual monitors, so I have it pulled up on my iMac. I don't know why it's not.
Right. So the caption in the picture, it's not in the picture there, but basically the circled areas are the areas of contention.
Yeah.
Our influence is in those circled areas, and they want it out.
Okay.
And if you look at it, it's centered on Japan and Taiwan.
I don't know why it's not pulling up on my monitor. I'm just gonna give you screen share capabilities. Can you just pull it up and share your screen?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know why it's not doing that. You'd think after 1,200 episodes I'd have it figured out, but I still don't. I still have no idea what I'm doing. But to me, it's like we didn't pass that law for nothing, you know. It says you're sharing screen. I started screen sharing. Still not showing. Have you opened up the whatever the
It says I'm loading.
Oh,
whatever that means.
Probably trying to fucking with us. Well, I'll pull it up on my thing anyway, just so I can see what you're talking about. But okay, so it's the map upside down,
right?
And it's Zbigniew Brzezinski, the grand chessboard, and it's the importance of. All right, so go through it again.
Okay, so the reason it's upside down is for a different part of this conversation, but the areas that are circled are the areas where there's a lot of U.S. influence that China wants out in Asia and Russia wants out in Europe. So if you look at that, it's hard to figure out upside down, but if you look at it, it's like, well, I mean, hard for me anyway.
Yeah,
it's the areas. I mean, I had a lot more detail on this before, but it covers basically Taiwan down to India. And this is where the skirmishes and hot wars will be.
Okay.
Right? And this was done before the Ukraine war. And if you look at the eastern side, I mean, whatever side, the European side, we'll call it east-west. You can't tell upside down.
Yeah.
See that's where the Ukraine war is. And by the way, if you look at there's another map that shows the Ukraine. We're not talking about that now, but the whole eastern side is about this channel between the ocean and Russia. And it's like Poland, Ukraine, Germany, boom, all the way through. But on the other side, it's all about, anyway, to your point about Taiwan, it's about Taiwan, right?
Yeah.
And so I have a question, because this is where I'm weak on this stuff, but I think I know how it comes out. What we have to think about is, what does Japan think of all this shit?
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think?
Stop sharing.
Okay, stop sharing. I don't know why. Yeah. No, you're good.
Am I still moving over there?
Yeah, I can see you. Hold on. Stop participant sharing. Why is this not working? There we
go. Maybe it's my computer.
No, I don't know. Zoom's just kind of shit. All right. Well, I got the image pulled up on the screen now, so.
Okay, good. Okay. But I'm not sharing, right? Like, your audience is going to see what I have.
I have it pulled up now. I have the image pulled up.
Okay, good.
Okay, so for everybody watching, it's the world upside down. We have North America on the far right. We have, I guess, Europe and the Scandinavian countries on the middle circle, and then on the left, that would be what, Taiwan and Japan and Vietnam and Korea's and all that shit going up, with Australia in the top left. All right. So your contention is that what the fuck does Japan think of this? You still there?
Okay. It's because, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here. All right. The reason they have it, okay, now everything's cleared up now. The reason they have it upside down is because the author is trying to show that while the U.S. views itself as protected because the oceans are on both sides of it, but when you look at the world upside down and laid out like that, you see that the center of the world is the Eurasian landmass.
Okay.
The world is the Eurasian landmass, it looks at the Americas as more like an island. Like we're not, and this is, we're not judging this as being true or not. We're just saying this is how they think. Most people think outside of the US. And if you look at the world upside down like that, you see the Americas as an island. And so while it is isolated and protected, it's also smaller as a landmass. It's away from things. And the geopolitical fronts going forward, which brings us back to Cold War, the geopolitical fronts are Asia in that circled area and Europe in that circled area. And the Asian area is interesting because, and they go about it in the book, the Asian area is interesting, more interesting than Europe, although Europe is obviously interesting. But the Asian area is interesting because the first Cold War never ended there. The Japanese and Koreans don't trust each other.
Yeah.
The Chinese hate the Japanese. I mean, at least we're having, at least the Poles are talking to the Germans these days. Like, that area is really, I mean, I guess I'm coming to the conclusion that you're going to be right. That area is a lot more unstable than we know. The Cold War never ended there. That's their contention.
Yeah. I also think it's just, I think on a deeply like psychological, like, I think our natural state is just kind of being at each other's throats. And I think the bigger it is and the more there is at stake, the more likely it is to happen. Does that make sense? There's something about not a hot war. That's no bueno. But there is something about it's just easy. It's just they're the Reds and we're not. There does seem to be something that's just, it just falls in line. There's a bigger enemy. We're all in one tribe. It seems to be deeply instinctual in like Homo sapien minds.
Well, I mean,
we always have to work towards peace. The groove we fall into is just, hey, fuck them.
Right. Well,
why are sports so popular? Get together with your best friends. Fuck the Yankees. Whatever.
It does unite people. I mean, look at Boston people.
That's what I mean.
So, I mean, I guess the human condition is you can't see black unless you know what white looks like.
Yeah.
And so black and white have to exist. And most of us, most of the time see things in black and white. Right. So it's like, and when you feel threatened, I guess we're talking about like the nature of the human condition is when you feel threatened, like someone's coming at you with a gun, it's fight or flight. It's a very black and white situation. And I guess it's easier to motivate people when they're in that perpetual situation. So if we're like that in general, and they want to do something to stay in power or get in power, then they just push that a little bit.
You would align it.
Yeah.
People are also they're easier to control when you're on a war footing.
That's right.
How concerned are you about the Democrats and Republicans? Shut up, dude. We got to build the Liberty ships. We got to go beat Hitler.
Right.
I mean, right? You mean, fuck, you have Ted Williams leaving the Red Sox being like, we'll put the baseball thing aside for now. We got to go fight, right? And again, I'm not saying it's right. I'm just trying to look at things as like, what is entropically? What is thermodynamically? It's not right that my apartment gets dirty. It is the most possible, is the most realistic outcome that I just have to clean it every once in a while because shit just gets everywhere. I have to go out of my way to make the studio pristine and clean. It's just a natural thing. And I think people like it more. And also, I mean, this is how I'm looking at it is like, so like when Challenger blew up, taking off, Columbia burned up, coming back in. If you ever watch like the videos from the NASA headquarters when Columbia is coming back in and they realize something's, it's very sad. And they're like, Columbia, like Houston and Columbia, and they're not there. And it starts to dawn on their faces. You see the guys going up, fuck. The first thing the guy does, the director of whatever mission control, goes, lock all the doors. And it means that no one's leaving. And because you're preserving the crime scene. We have to figure, doesn't mean that like, hey, someone sabotaged it. We have to find out who. That's not it. It's something happened. Everyone's staying here until we find out what happened. They're dead now. Sorry, go on.
No, just to add a footnote to that. There's always someone else to blame. And you have to find that because it justifies your position. whatever it
That's it.
is.
That's it. No, no, no. You always have to. That's often why if something bad goes wrong in the military, you gotta have find a scapegoat, and you always blame it on the dead guy,
Right.
right? So, but the first thing you do is you establish like the outermost boundaries of the scenario, and it's lock the doors. Then we're
That's
gonna
right.
whittle our way in. It's gonna be a 10-year investigation, find out what happened. But the first thing you do is you establish the borders, right?
Right.
Um, so that's kind of what that's how I view something like Space Force and Starlink is you're getting an inkling in like the deepest, most secretive levels of the national security apparatus.
Right.
Who there if you and I are just now kind of warming up to the there's probably a Cold War. This means it's probably been on the fucking plans for a while, right? They're probably like, yeah. The first
Establish the borders. I wrote that down. That's really good.
so that but that's the first thing you do, right?
Yeah, you put the frame around it, and then you fucking do everything on the inside.
And then you start doing everything on the inside. So like the very like like um like this podcast like I always have everything stored in hard drives in multiple locations. I never know when a fucking platform's gonna nuke me. All right.
Right.
I can always rebuild. I can always and I've had to migrate to Rumble, but I always have the core, the irreplaceable. That one's taken care of. And then you move up from there. Okay. So what's the first thing we did? Create Space Force, which is a natural thing, right? You have the U.S. Army Air Forces. It was just the Air Force aspect of the Army up until
Right.
47. Then we realized the Air Force pretty much won World War II. And so Truman goes, we got to create our own Air Force. It needs its own thing. And then from 47 forward, it starts to take over like Space Command. And finally, under Trump, and it was going to happen regardless. Everyone's like, Trump made it. No, it was going to happen. He makes Space Force, right? Because Space Force breaks away from Air Force. You have to have something to control the high ground, the ultimate thing. And then we have Starlink. And man, like, sure, Starlink is internet, but like you don't get a contract to put thousands of satellites surrounding the planet from the Pentagon
No.
without someone signing off on it and without that having dual use capability. I don't know what it is. We'll probably maybe find out in our lifetimes. It
I mean,
it has
totally not.
something. What?
It's totally military and DARPA. I mean,
It's probably not even Musk's. They probably just said, "Hey, you do this. We're gonna put it under a civilian name." Okay.
you do this, or we're going to arrest you for Chapo.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. We're gonna do something to you. All right. So just fuck off. We don't know which way this thing's going. We have our plans where we think it's gonna be Ukraine, push Ukraine into Russia, or have Russia go Ukraine, Russia, China come together, Taiwan. We have our ideas, but we have established like what are the boundaries? We're taking over space. Get up 30,000 fucking satellites right now. Who
That's
knows
right.
what they are? Well, there's a treaty that says that you can't. Yeah, there's also a lot of signs that say this is a gun-free zone. Who does that stop? Doesn't stop the guy at the AR walking into the school. So sure, we have a lot of treaties that say you can't put weapons in space. Enforced by who? To enforce it, you're probably going to need weapons in space. So fuck off. It's a treaty. And during a war, they broke their treaty. Yeah, it's a war. Fuck off. No one cares. Stalin
Right.
didn't go, Hitler lied to me and he did Operation Barbarossa. No, you met him with a mountain of steel and blood. That's treaties don't mean shit. They're fun during peacetime. So we've established the borders. We're taking over space.
Right. Locks are for people. You know, the we're taking over space thing, the higher ground. Actually, I never thought of it as the higher ground concept, but it's that simple. Somebody I trust made it clear to me from a business point of view. I said, why this is me being naive, right? Why the interest in space?
Yeah.
And the guy said, and he's a military guy. He said, NASA now owns space beyond the moon. Between the Earth and the moon, we want it controlled by the US, but we can't do it ostensibly militarily. So we're going to have corporations do it. So you're going to have shuttles to the moon. This is it's your conclusion from a totally different perspective. I actually was asking him about business. I'm like, is this a real business model? He's like, let me tell you why it's a real business model. It's a real business model because NASA now owns the moon and beyond. And everything between the Earth and the moon, we're going to let companies build shit and make money and take people up on tourist trips. But they're seeding it for us. So he said, what happens? What happens if an Amazon rocket gets damaged? we can blame the Russians.
Yeah.
That, and by the way, how many wars have started because of that? It starts with barring Putin's phraseology, which is true. It's like, okay, we need this oil to survive. You've threatened this oil, therefore we must reinforce it militarily. It's an excuse. It's a pretense. And I mean, I haven't thought about this until just now, but you're right. Space between here and the moon is being weaponized by our businesses using technology probably jointly created with the government.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh yeah. So I mean, it's no different than when we want to build the SR-71 Blackbird, and the only thing that could sustain the high temperature was titanium. Who is the world's biggest producer of titanium? Soviet Union,
right.
Who we're fighting a Cold War against. So
Right.
the CIA created a bunch of private front companies that went over there and started mining titanium. We brought it back here, and it's it's like Thanos. I used the rings I used the stones to destroy the stones. We used the Russian soil to spy on Russian soil. It's kind of hilarious. We've done this before, right? Again, NASA, right? Think about the brilliance of NASA. It's a civilian space agency. We're not weaponizing space. We want there to be peace in space. We're going to make it in the middle of the cold fucking war, but it's civilian space agency. Well, why did the shuttle look so big? Why was it so clunky? Oh, well, it came out decades later. Well, by the way, the Air Force signed off on the final design. They wanted we said it was for the Hubble telescope. No, the bay of the reason why it was basically an 18-wheeler that went to space is so that it could ferry up multiple things. Who is the main client? The Air Force. There's an astronaut. His name was it's a black guy. I think his name was Guy. I tried to get him on the podcast. He never responded, whatever. But there's this channel called Dark Docs, DARKDOCS. That has a bunch of great little space history shit. And they talk about how when the space shuttle would go up there, and how the Air Force always had there was a dual mission control for the space shuttles. There was the Houston one, and then there was one out at Vandenberg, and how they apparently had their own astronauts, which was military astronauts embedded in the NASA program, right? Everyone knew it, but they all had clearances. And I'm probably butchering the story, but they would go up there, and we'd be going up there and releasing a new telescope for whatever, the Harvard School of Meteorology, and we'd beam back the colorful photos and whatever. And then every once in a while, we'd be up there, and one of the guys who everyone knew was Air Force, he knew we knew. He knew we knew. Everyone knew. No one said a fucking word because it technically was illegal.
Right.
He would say something along the lines of I'm going to go take a nap. And we would all just agree that he was taking a nap. And he and another guy would go in the back and do a spacewalk. And of course, we all know because we're all watching the monitors, and a thing would open up, and a classified payload that technically didn't exist would be quietly released and put into its own orbit. We've had the military in space forever. We just dressed it up as NASA. So it's no, we went and bought titanium in the Soviet Union, but it was a private company, guys. It wasn't the Air Force. So we've been doing this, and that's what I think Starlink is, man. It's not the weaponization of space. It's internet for everybody, and it has great PR. We're providing internet to Ukraine.
Can we stay on Musk for a second? Because
I don't care.
It's not Starlink, but it's the same idea. So you made a comment about Musk, military complex, partnering with businesses, Starlink as probably an obvious example. Here's another one, and it's going to have military applications, and although we can't see exactly how, but the Neuralink concept.
Yeah.
Which is another business. Okay, all right. DARPA did that 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. But I think this is significant because what DARPA was working on, or people affiliated with DARPA, they started 15, maybe 20 years ago. It's like an X-Files episode. They're like, we found the spot in the brain that makes the rat go left. And so, because when the rat turns left, this part of the brain lights up. Fine, that's cool. But what's on the outside that you see can be influenced on the inside. We're getting into the whole this is current events with the Apple technology, with all the shit. So like, okay, so now we see the part of the brain that lights up when the mouse turns left. Let's fucking stimulate the part of the brain to make the mouse turn left.
Mm-hmm.
So they basically take the mouse or rat or whatever it was, and DARPA made it a remote control, right? So I want to turn, very, very simple shit, turn left, turn right, what have you. And I think Stephen Hawking's chair before he died actually was working on his mind. Like he wasn't even pushing the joystick anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So the DARPA people, and this is from someone who, it's not, it's conjecture, right? Speculation, we'll call it. But you just know this is what happened. I'm a scientist, and I figured out how to do that on a mouse. Like, wow, let's do that on people. And I say this as a scientist, not as a military scientist. I go, you know what? We can't get any feedback from the mouse. How does it feel when we do that? We need to have something tell us. So they hook a person. Now this part I'm not sure, but it makes sense. They hook a person up to it. But it makes sense based on what's happened since then in social media. They hook a person up to it, and they do a couple rudimentary things, turn left, turn right, something like that. And that's it, it's over, right? And they take them off of it and they go, so how did you experience that? Did you feel like you were being compelled to turn left, like out of a movie? He's like, no, I just thought I wanted to turn left. So the person, right? Okay, so
and they probably didn't tell the guy that's what the test was. They said, hey, we're going to test your ability to blink. It was like a double-blind placebo. And he was like, yeah, right, I was blinking and I was walking in left circles.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to turn left. Like, and the guy said to me, what it proves is that the human mind will lie to itself and says it wants to do something. And knowing that, the scientists are like, oh, we figured, and they're having some conversation about free will and some fucking highfalutin shit. The military is like, wait a minute, we can get a guy to shoot and not even, and think he wanted to? Oh, that's cool. So DARPA is working on that, this whole super soldier shit, another X-File episode. And now you've got Musk saying, not today, he said it like a year ago, but he's talking about it again. Now he's got Musk saying, you can project your feeling like during sex to your partner. And I'm like, wait a minute. I mean, it's what goes out goes in. And so you can influence people. Can you imagine giving someone the control over how you feel, knowing that you won't even know you're being manipulated? And that's the thing. The Apple module, the new thing that's out, I'm going to write an article on this, but one of the Apple technologists was talking about, he was so proud of like a scientist, I'm so proud of what we did. What'd you do? Okay, when you're wearing the goggles, we can tell what you're going to do. Now, he didn't say this. He goes, we can tell if you're enjoying something before you know it. And the answers, it's kind of like, you and I walk into I walk into a car dealership and you're selling cars. 5 minutes before I know that I'm going to buy it. Like I'll ask a question like that, come in red? Because I'm an idiot. Does it come in red? I'm not thinking about it, right? Well, apparently you can just drill down on that all the way down to things like lie detector stuff, blood pressure, things like that. Well, with the goggles on, I'll send you the thread that the guy wrote.
Yeah.
With goggles on, they can see how an eye movement will happen before when an eye movement a certain way will happen. Like it's skin tension. There's some technical terms for it.
There's a bunch of pattern recognition that it says this is probably going to happen with like 90% certainty.
Right. I mean, right. And we're not talking about 50%, 70%. We're talking about, oh, he likes that. He doesn't even know it yet. It's like from the time that you touch your skin and then your mind goes, that hurts or doesn't hurt. They're in the middle there interrupting it, going, oh, it's on its way to his head. So they're like, oh, this is really great. We can maximize your experience. No, you can manipulate my experience. Apparently, just to end up so we can go back to DARPA and how we're all going to be super soldiers. Apparently, Meta, Facebook, whatever they're called now, they could tell if you were going to click on something before you did it because of how you gripped the mouse
Ugh.
or some sort of a neurological electrical response between your hand. They had like a special mouse. So if you don't think we're in space, just to reiterate, to bring it back, if you don't think the military is colonizing space, and you don't think the military works with Elon Musk, you know, then I got a bridge to sell you. These guys are we're
Oh, fuck. Yeah. And then you go back to Sidney Gottlieb's book, Poisoner in Chief, about how in Vietnam we were taking Viet Cong guys and we were putting little nodes in their head and we were trying to
oh,
use
are we? I don't know that one.
in the fucking late 60s and we were trying to get them to fight each other like fucking battle bots. And it
Yeah,
didn't really work. A lot of them would bleed out, and then sometimes they would just have mental snaps, and so we would just throw them out of a plane at 50,000 feet when we were done with them. Evil shit.
right,
I mean, this is going back to then, man. Going back to
right,
then, the
right.
60s.
And it's
Fucking
not like we haven't been
Beatles are
trying.
singing. The Beatles are singing, "I want to hold your hand," and it's like that's when we're doing this shit. I want to control your brain. Yo, Vince, I
Right.
gotta go. I gotta go piss, man. Tell everybody where to find you.
Okay. We should put a camera in his bathroom. My name is Vince Lanci, and by trade, I'm a commodities trader, analyst, manage money for funds, and as a hobby, that's become actually a full-time hobby. I write something called the Gold Fix, and the Gold Fix is a Substack publication. There's a free and a pay version. It's VBL Gold Fix Substack. I'm also on Twitter, although it's a different vibe. On Twitter, it's at Soren the K, Sorenthek, which is like Soren Kierkegaard. And I'll throw some stuff up on there. But just the background is I'm a commodity trader, traded a lot of oil and a lot of gold. And so geopolitically, I have to think of these things, derivatives, things like that. I also teach, I'm a professor MBA at East Coast University. I'm not going to say because I don't want to get any trouble politically for what I'm saying here. But that's pretty much it. It's while we're waiting for him, it's really scary shit because we're putting satellites in space with dual purpose, right? And Russia and China probably feel behind the curve on that, and they're going to rush to do that. In fact, I think they just did something like that. I think China just did something. Everyone's trying to catch up. So Russia's got hypersonic missiles. Maybe we don't. Who knows? We're going to rush to do that. Russia's got oil. We've got oil. We have chips that we think are more advanced. China's very good at copying them. So it's just going to be like, you've got a rock, I've got a shield. You've got a bow and arrow, I've got a better shield. You've got a gun, I've got Kevlar. You've got a tank, I build a fort. You've got a trebuchet, what am I going to build? Not a space fort. So that's what we're doing here. And it's all the West rationalizes it for profit. But the escalating arms race I was talking about.
Yeah, no, yeah. So when you think about how advanced that, so there's this documentary I've watched like a million times. Tried to get him on here before he will come on. Lieutenant General James Abramson. He headed up SDI under Reagan, and
Right.
uh, and he was talking about like what they're doing in the '80s, and he's got like this very like calm, sweet, almost like ASMR voice. And so
Right.
it's kind of just like this hilarious contradiction of like the way he sounds versus what he's talking about. He's talking about you just missiles in space, but it's very sweet and then softening and it makes you want to go to bed. But we're talking about putting missiles in space, moving at several times the speed of sound to vaporize Russian cities. But
Yeah.
it's going on and on again about what they were using in like the 80s, and it's like particle beams, directed energy, shooting shit at
Mhm.
the speed of light. It's like that was in the 80s, man. And
Yeah.
when you look at the rationalization of like Curtis LeMay, who headed up Strategic Air Command, who he was a badass. He would lead the bomber formations in World War II. He wasn't leading from like a bunker. He would fucking get out there in the front plane and be like, let's go fucking do. He's fucking
Right.
wild. And this guy loved his planes. He loved like the romanticism of it, the big, just silver colored, silver tinted chrome bombers. But his final logic was is like, we'd throw 100 planes at a target or 1,000 planes, and 900 would get through, right? And then they'd all drop their bombs, but at least one would always get through. And then with the advent of the nuclear weapon, you only needed one to get through. That was it. You just needed one. And so that changed bombing forever. And then, despite a lot of like, feet dragging and shit, he finally realized that as much as he loved his bombers, the future was missiles because they're unmanned. They could go up into orbit. They'd come back in at like Mach 23. You could fire them from our own backyard, and they were unstoppable. Right. So he dragged his feet a lot, but finally he was like, all right, these are the future. And he just went along with it. But his logic and his entire logic was always like, how quickly can we get the payload onto the target? Fuck everything else. I don't care if it's a plane. I don't care if it's a goddamn zebra. How do we get the target? And so it comes down to missiles with nuclear. Yes. Okay. So then I always think about directed energy weapons, right? You put them in orbit. The ISS, the International Space Station, is I think at 220 miles in orbit. All right. Even if you took a geosynchronous satellite, which is at 36,500 miles, man, the speed of light can go around the circumference of the planet 7.5 times a second. It's nothing, right? So if you take down the importance of wanting to get a global strike missile that can do anywhere in the world in 30 minutes as opposed to 40 minutes, that's a big improvement. You put a directed energy weapon in orbit, shooting at the speed of light.
Right.
The time between you give the order is not 30 minutes. It's a hundredth of a second. So to me, that is us. We're securing the boundaries. We have our plan for the new Cold War.
Right.
But we've got our corners taken care of. And I can't help but think that it's probably some form of something to do with Starlink. It's got some weapons application. I don't know what it would be, but there's something up there because it's orbiting around.
At the very least, isn't it the new spy plane?
Oh, at the very least.
At the very least, right? Yeah. And you're comment about delivering a payload. If you and I both have the most powerful weapons known to man, and you shoot yours from missile silos, and I shoot mine from missile silos, whether it's in a submarine or or North Dakota or whatever, and now I have this satellite up there with your strategic, with your and we both launch rockets at the same time, right? So we're gonna meet. It's like Dr. Strangelove shit, right? Both launching at the same time, and we press a button. Your fucking rocket can be blown up coming out of the silo.
Yeah.
So again, and I say this in a cynically positive light, that deters nuclear war because you won't do it. But the reality of it is, we can do it if we're abusive. Yeah. Anyway, but that's the arms race you're talking about. Our payload. What's the guy's name again?
Lieutenant General James Abramson. He's like 90 now. Yeah.
So he's like, he sounds like
he sounds like Mr. Rogers, but he's talking about thermonuclear holocaust.
How come the most the people with the most sensitive decisions? I guess it makes sense, but people like Pol Pot. That the guy was I'm not saying Abramson's evil. I'm saying Pol Pot was like a poet. How come all these leaders have all these soft artistic sides?
I would imagine it's an element of psychopathy.
I think so. I think you have
has to be.
You have to rationalize it, otherwise you go crazy.
Yeah.
It's like, it's okay. I didn't shoot you. The bullet shot you. I just held the gun. Yeah. And because of my Zen Buddhism training, I'm responsible for it.
Yeah.
There's got to be something there.
It's probably something like that, or they've just sat with it for so long that it's lost any like shock value.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. How many beheading videos can you watch before you're like, yeah, I get it. It's ISIS. Right. How many hours can you spend in NORAD talking about nuking the planet before it's just Monday? You're just like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, we're taking out Taiwan today.
We're taking out Taiwan today. We're going to back away. We're going to blow up Taiwan on our way back to retreating to Japan.
Yeah. That's man, I do think we're getting ready to just burn Taiwan, right? I mean, was it last year we started building that chip fabricating plant in the U.S.?
Yep.
Yeah, we're taking the irreplaceable aspects of Taiwan and we're making backups. But it's still a very valuable pawn.
all of a sudden, I have a friend or two that works at ASML, and no inside information, but he's been letting me see the path. He's like, uh, the infrastructure bill is going to sink money into chips, and I'm like, okay, why? He's like, well, because we need to keep the price of oil down, and having good chips allows you to be more efficient and you use less energy in your production. So, okay, we're low cost producer. I go, that's great. I go, what about it? He goes, well, we used to, they sell these big machines. So these I forget what they're called, but they're ultraviolet light based, and they're about as big as a tractor trailer, and they take like years to make, and they're incredibly sensitive, and they work with ultraviolet light. And he's like, yeah, we sell one like a year or something like that, and the last one we sold is Taiwan. I go, where's the next one you're selling? Oh, we're selling one to the Taiwan company. Where's it going? He goes, oh, it's in Arizona. Like, what the fuck's it doing there? So, where the name of the company is? It Taiwan. It's a company. It's not a country, And it's like, so they're building one there, subsidized money from the U.S., chips in the Midwest. I mean, you could just see this whole the LBJ concept being reborn. Yes, we're rebuilding the military-industrial complex, but it's jobs, and we're protecting the homeland. I mean, you can just hear buy American.
Oh, yeah.
We're not going to have that nasty Chinese stuff anymore.
Yeah.
And Taiwan, we love them, but you have a redundancy for your hard drive, don't you? Well, we have a redundancy for our chips. God forbid something happens to Taiwan. Well, let's put it this way: we don't want anything to happen to Taiwan until we get that chip factory built.
Yeah.
And
then we really want something to happen to Taiwan.
That's right. And then we'll torch it.
Yeah, we'll absolutely torch it. So we'll either make China do it, or we'll fucking do it.
Well, what about Japan? Japan has to be a little bit nervous about that. I heard that they've been.
I think we want Japan to. I think we want that to survive, because we have bases in Okinawa, like one of our largest bases in the world. I think the largest is Ramstein in Germany. Right. I think I could be wrong. I think our second largest is in Okinawa. We don't want that to go.
I think Japan just found offshore a shit ton of lithium right around the time we pulled out of Afghanistan. So, if you pull it up, it's going to be like, Japan confirms the largest lithium deposit in the world. I'm sure the Japanese were like, shit, we better make sure we're worth protecting.
They probably had that as on the fucking. They probably had that card tucked away for a decade. And they're like, in case the U.S. ever gets a little funny,
right? And by the way, that's to your point about the whole private enterprise and military working together. See, that's why the West wins out, at least optically, with the East. So, for example, China, we're building islands. We're man-made building islands, next door to Japan. Well, you can't do that. Yeah, you're right. We're going to do it for weather observations. We're going to do it for whatever the reasons are going to, and nobody believes it. But the U.S. is like, oh yeah, we're sending Starlink satellites into orbit to give you ESPN. Yeah. And so okay, that's cool.
Well, it is the brilliance of the West is we do it, and we fucking do the PR. We're giving it to the people of Ukraine, because Russia is trying to. Never mind that we started it, but like. We're giving it to the people of Ukraine. No, we're very good at packaging it. We're very good at selling it to the world. It's like that South Park episode where Cartman like goes back in time to meet the founding fathers or something, or I forget how he does it. But the takeaway of it,
I'm a South Park person. I just don't know that one. I'm a big.
I haven't watched that one, and I can't forever, but I vaguely remember it because
an early episode.
Last time I watched it, it must have been like 2012 or something. I don't know. So I mean, at least a decade. But like Cartman like makes this contraption where he like hangs upside down and drops himself into a kiddie pool full of toasters and like electrocutes himself and goes back. It's fucking.
I never saw this one. That's a good one.
And he goes back in time and meets like the founding fathers, and he's like talking to them, and it finally comes down to like, I don't know. He tells them about the future or something, whatever. But the takeaway is, well, that's the beauty of America, is we have Democrats and Republicans. On one hand, we bomb the absolute fucking shit out of every place in the world. And then half the population talks about how evil we are for doing it and how we are all for progress. And no one bats an eye. So we do it, and then we condemn ourselves and say how bad we are for doing it. But we're never going to stop doing it. And so we have our cake and eat it too. And so
Right.
it's just this brilliant, like, China uses slave labor. Never mind, it's to create the iPhone that I own. But
Right.
China's evil. Like, so we're putting up payloads into space, but it's so that we can give internet to the Ukrainians.
Oh, the Ukrainians. We have to help the Ukrainians.
No,
Yeah.
we are very, very good at packaging it. We're brilliant at packaging it. It's pure evil, but God,
That's,
I love it.
but that's the manipulation. It's like, oh, you care about kittens? You like kittens? Well, then we're going to send the satellite into orbit to find all the kittens for you. Like,
Yes.
it,
Yeah, no, it's like we can't be evil because look, we're still bringing in millions of migrants over the southern border. Like, give us your hungry, weary travelers. Like, we'll
oh,
do this while sending tanks to Ukraine. Like,
right,
we are still and it's like, and the more I watch it, the less I think that we're just this evil thing. And I think it's that I'm just growing up and realizing this is what we've always been. It's
right.
just with social media and with internet and Audible and Wikipedia, it's more apparent. We've probably been this way since like the
Forever,
1900s. Yeah, since like
forever.
World War One.
Since Ike,
No, before that, 100 years before that, probably.
I mean, how many times before social media and before things like you're doing, I remember when it was first getting going, it was like, that's a bunch of lunatics. This is the news. And then the lunatics get louder and more frequent. And although 8 out of 10 of them are crazy, 2 are not. And then before you know it, there's like more truth coming out of that. And the shift probably happened during COVID, where the conspiracy theorists aren't just talking about conspiracies, and they're right. And the mainstream media has become even more obviously a shill for the establishment. Anyway, the point is, we have always been this way. Guys like you and I are just kind of figuring it out because we've been exposed to it in social media. It's kind of like data, right? You're a data person. You've got 5 data points. You can draw a conclusion, but you're not sure. You get 5,000 data points a second that aren't refuted. Eventually, you're like, you know what? I might need to rethink how I'm drawing this map.
Yeah.
Where we are.
And then, and like one thing I've kind of realized more and more is like staring into the abyss, and it does stare back.
Yeah.
Is like the more you evaluate this and really just try to remove blinders of Democrat, Republican, just really try to examine like what's going on in the military industrial complex and the iron triangle and just the revolving door and the hybridization of intelligence agencies with energy companies, and you start to realize that this is the inevitable outcome. This hyperfusion, this event horizon of power and intelligence and military apparatus was going to happen. It happened here first. And if it didn't happen here, it would have happened somewhere else. And you look at how we butt fuck the rest of the world.
That's what Pol Pot would say.
Yeah, maybe I should be a dictator. But then you look at what
Just a
China's
dick.
doing and bullying around its neighbors and what it's
No,
doing.
but
But
I
what
agree with you. I mean, it sounds like we're rationalizing, or at least it does to me. But the bottom line is, it's kind of like the old phrase, like Churchill said, capitalism sucks, or our way sucks, or Democrat something sucks, but it's better than everything else out there. So if
that and then it's a very kind of, and again, it doesn't make it good, but you start to go in what, let's look how the rest of the countries in the world are acting when they are starting to get the slightest sniff of blood in the water, that maybe the
can you
dollar's
even
not as
imagine?
strong.
Can you imagine if they had the powers that we had?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's look how they're acting when it just we appear somewhat weaker.
Right.
Yeah, man, an iron fist rules the fucking world. It's
Yeah.
just what it is. And it's been that way since the dawn of time. You don't have to like it. Hey, I'm with you too, man. I fucking wish it was some scene out of some, vacation Bible school painting where it's like we're all just holding hands in a field with a donkey. I
Right.
don't fucking know. Yeah,
Kumbaya, kumbaya,
I wish it
kumbaya.
was that too. All right. But it's not, man. And like we live in this nation separated from the rest of the world by two oceans. And we have the strongest military on the planet. At a certain point, I think you go and you're in the bunker talking to James Abramson and he's chatting to you for 10 hours. And at the end of it, you go, this or what? You want to take down our entire military industrial complex? Okay. And then let China build it? Okay. And
Right.
do you just cross your fingers and hope they're nice to you?
Yeah.
And it's a fucking sad realization, but it's also, it just is. It's just what it is. You just grow up and you realize it's what it is. And like,
Right.
yeah, I think it's probably the least worst system we've had for all the fucking shit we do around, and we do a lot.
Right.
It's still the place that people will crawl over the southern border to get to.
That's right.
And man, like as much as I fucking hate just like the wild rainbow haired like just tranny pride fucks, man, how gifted of a nation are we? Where our biggest problem is I don't like that guy identifies as a third gender. Not
Right.
about I can't get food because my grandpa bought an article from the New York Times and the KGB put us on a blacklist. It's
Right.
because I don't think that guy should be able to walk around during a pride festival with a dildo in his ass. Like, how great is it that is our greatest grievance? Not does the water work? Not does a is it an artillery shell going to hit my apartment?
That's
It's
right.
you have a pride flag in your Twitter profile, you douchebag.
Right.
That's my grievance is that I haven't gotten enough retweets. How is that not the best system?
That's
It's a tough pill to swallow, man.
no, it's actually true. I mean, it's the whole, it's a bigger picture version of the whole, uh, I don't agree with you, but I'll fight for your ability to have a different opinion than me.
Yeah.
And when you expand that logically, end up with if our biggest problem is X, I wouldn't, and we're in charge, like we are the adults in the room.
Yeah.
As mature as we are the adults in the room.
Yeah.
It's a little arrogant, but I mean, hopefully we have enough adults to remain the adult, but it sounds like, at least right now we're the adults in the room for now.
There's a limited amount of resources. There's a finite amount of resources with a seemingly infinite number of people with an infinite number of desires. We're in a prison and we're both walking around carrying 12 gauge shotguns and we're up on a catwalk surrounded by barbed wire.
Like,
You go, man, doesn't it suck for the people in Gen Pop? And I go, yeah, it does. And after a while, you go, I mean, what should we join them and give them the guns? And you go, hey, it sucks they're down there. And it's not fair that, we have beds and they have cots. You're free to go give them your gun. I'm not.
right.
And it's Nicholson and a few good men.
I was just thinking about that
You
scene.
want me on that wall, you need me
Yeah.
on the wall because I
We
make
have the
decisions that
necessary,
you don't like to talk about when you're alone at parties. That's the thing is you and I have the luxury of sitting on a podcast and going, this isn't right. What happens when you do get behind that nuclear blast door and you are up there with the decisions and you are on the wall and you have to
God
go,
forbid you have to make that decision.
God
That's
forbid you have to make that fucking decision. I know that this is a very easy way to slip into, well, it's bigger than you, and it's a way to rationalize bad decisions.
right.
I get that, and the power can be abused. I understand that. But at what point because you and I can have these things and we can look at it on the news and go, oh, the Senate just passed a bill that said we're going to protect Taiwan. And I can go, oh, that's the military industrial complex. And then I can turn off my phone, which is made by slave labor, and sit in my apartment with an air conditioner in a city, in a country that no one would dare attack. And if I have the slightest problem, I can drive 2 minutes to a hospital. And if I'm hungry, I can go get world class germ free food in an air conditioned super apartment. And there's no exchange of gunfire for me to get meat. I just wave a plastic card and they go, yeah, have a good day, Mr. Carrigan. And it's so nice. And then I look at an article and go, we're sending more money to Ukraine. That's so evil. And then I can sit down and play fucking Xbox because no one's coming to break down my fucking door because I'm a military age male. Yeah, at a certain point, there are the guys that don't get to put down the phone. They go, yeah, we're going to pass a bill for Taiwan. It is on us. It's on your shoulders, right? During 08 financial crisis, I was 18. I go, oh, this sucks. And I get to go back to private school. But my dad's got to make the hard decisions of how am I going to continue to raise 4 kids and support my wife. He's got to make the decisions that no one else wants to fucking make. And they're not fun and they're not sexy, but the buck stops here. The buck stops somewhere, man. And somewhere in some deep fucking bunker, you got someone from DARPA talking to Musk going, we're going to put up 30,000 satellites that if need be will rain down hell on the Chinese people. And there's no one to pass to go, I got to send it to my boss. There is a moment, there is a place, there is a bunker or hermetically sealed room with fluorescent lighting where the buck does stop. And it goes,
Right.
no. You don't get to put down the phone. Do you want the American empire to go on? Or are you going to let China take Taiwan? And you got to make the decision. And guess what? Half the nation's going to say that's my president, and the other half's going to say that's a warmonger. And that's what comes with it, man. And it's like it's we have the luxury of criticizing it. We don't get to be in. And by the way, and you don't get to come out and get to explain to the American people because you've taken TSSCI clearances, and if you say a word, you're going to be fucked in the ass in Guantanamo until your grandkids are dead.
Right.
So I don't know. Is that my defense of the military industrial complex? I guess so.
Well, that's a nice little rant there. And it's actually all accurate. The balance is, how
Don't let
much
it run amok.
what I'm saying, making excuses for abuse at the top
Correct.
versus the alternative
Correct.
is way worse.
Correct.
So it's kind of right where we are constantly shooting for we'll just make it a left-right thing, right? So, well, actually not left-right. We'll make it a Nicholson-Cruz thing, right? Cruz wants to improve what's going on in the framework we've created because it is the best, right? Yeah. That's progressive, right? And Nicholson is saying, whoa, you're too progressive. We can't do it that way because you risk, losing Guantanamo or and so the personal battle between left and right is really about improving what we have versus improving too much and justifying the whole thing and letting some other fucking idiot run it. That's kind of what I feel like.
Yeah.
That was the first movie, I watched that movie. I'm a big movie person, and most of my family at the time was left of center. And my wife at the time was very left of center. And so I had to see both sides of it. And I saw that movie and everybody liked that movie. And I'm like, you know what? I had a problem with it. And I had a cousin who was a Marine. In fact, he gave me his bayonet, right?
Okay.
So I had a cousin. I said, you know what? I was being curious. I wasn't being judgmental. I'm like, how true is what Nicholson's saying? And I was thinking big picture. He goes, oh, that's true. Nicholson's a scumbag. But this is what he said to me. He goes, the Nicholson character is evil and he's a scumbag. And what he did is wrong and he should pay for it individually. However, he's contained by the people around him that do follow the letter of the law. And so because of that, the asshole remains in place, but he's a figurehead. He's like very Marine, gunnery sergeant at the time. Because the decentralized masses around that general keep him in place. If you take the figurehead out, you have chaos. And so, while what Cruz was doing was right, he was thinking about as a Marine. You don't know who the guy who's coming in after him, what he's going to do. You may have got a guy in there who's worse, or you may get a guy that's going in there that's scared to do his job now. And so, again, we think black and white. Do your job, don't do your job. Then you can't afford to have nuances when you're on that wall. No. Or you can't afford to have nuances when you are that, that corporal who died in the act. Anyway, the Marine was like, you know what? I agree with Cruz. This is the Marine talking. I agree with Cruz, I agree with what Cruz had to do. However, we lost something that day in a bigger picture feeling that we won't experience probably for decades, because it's the death of a thousand cuts.
Mm.
So yeah, you know, um, I don't mind Nicholson being there as long as I don't know about it. As soon as I know about it, I have to get him fired.
And there comes in the luxury.
That's
Is
the luxury.
we're okay with
Exactly.
it until we know about it.
That's right.
But we just said we're okay with it so long as we don't know about it.
Right. And that's why the government's like, you're not going to find out about it.
Well, not only that, we just implied that we are okay with it.
Right.
I'm okay with it so long as once you tell me I legally, it's the you and your buddy are being cross-examined. Don't tell
Yep.
me. Don't fucking tell me because I don't want to have to lie in front of I'm telling you I'm okay with it. You're like,
Right.
Tommy, there's this hooker, she's dead, and I'm going, Vince, I don't fucking want to know another word. I am letting you know I'm okay with you killing that hooker. Don't you tell me you did it because now I'm gonna have to testify. So
Yep.
even that is we're showing our complete hypocrisy. We're saying that Nicholson can exist. Don't tell me about it because then I have to morally act. But we are implying that we're okay with him existing in a Schrodinger's fashion of, well, if we truly cared, we would say, no, I don't know if he exists, and we're going to go find out and make sure he doesn't exist. We
Right.
actually don't care because we're going, if he exists and I don't know about it, I'm okay with that.
What about the oil? Okay, so what about the oil block? Your point about us passively aggressively trying to goad Russia on, that kind of dovetails into the I want to know about it. So, like for example, um, we blockaded Japan's oil, and that's why they invaded Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
So are you okay with FDR doing that? Knowing what you know now?
Yes.
Right, exactly. I am. I am. But and
No
but
hesitation. Yes.
but if it were my daughter or son that were bombed at Pearl Harbor, my personal, I would lose the ability to look at the big picture.
Which is
Right?
why you keep it classified for 100 years.
Right.
You wait until they're all dead and you go, yeah, it's tragic.
It's simple math, isn't it?
It's
Because
simple math. And then
people
not only that,
die, then live, you can get away with it.
you can't say it when the people are still alive that died or that served or whatever. But when enough time goes by, everyone is everyone gets to sit in that FDR position and look back and go, okay, but now we know just how technologically advanced Germany was. We knew what they were doing with the concentration camp system.
That's right.
And we know about Unit 731 in Japan and how they wanted to release a plague on the entire world. And you go, yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. And it's all dead, and none of it, you can't really relate to it anymore because all the photos are black and white and they're driving around big cars with white wall tires. And you go, you're afforded a certain distance from it. And you go, yeah, well, yeah, it's probably better that they killed. And it's all obscured. None of it's actually ever been declassified. So even there, you're
Right.
allotted the luxury of going, well, this
You
is
can,
given that this happened.
right. You can still, like you and I, let's say you and I are for completely different people. You need to know the truth. And you're like, I know the truth. And now I accept it because time has gone by. But still, as to your point is being muddied. Me, on the other hand, it's still muddy enough that I can live in denial.
It's still
Well,
muddy enough that you can go,
I don't know.
yeah, I did fire that machine gun 500 yards into the oncoming guys. I don't know if I hit anybody.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the guy next to me shooting. I don't know.
Didn't they used to I'm jumping around, but it's the same idea.
No, in the firing squads, yeah,
We're on the same right.
yeah, 9 guys would have a blank, one guy wouldn't.
Right. It's like,
Who killed him? I don't know. It's probably Bob.
what's it?
He was a bad guy. He didn't need to die.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't me, it was someone else.
Yeah, and
Plausible
then
deniability.
yeah, and then you go back to FDR and you go, okay, so he makes that decision, and you do have to make the decision and keep it classified for 100 years because in 100 years, much like your kids grow up and eventually, I don't have kids, so I don't know why I'm talking about this, but eventually they grow up and they go, yeah, no, you were right. Thanks for not letting me get that tattoo on my forehead when I was 10.
That's right.
You'll thank me when you're older. But the
That's
reason why the parent does it is in the kid, I hate you, and they scream and go pound, and you can hate me. I'll alleviate you that luxury because you want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
that's
So
right.
you
I'm the
can
bad
hate
guy.
me. You can call me FDR and say I bombed Pearl Harbor. But in 100 years, when you understand I was right, that's fine. But we're not allotted the luxury in 1941 for you to go, we're not going to allow it to happen. Because then after the Germans invade the East Coast and the Japanese take over the West Coast, and then in 100 years you go, I wish FDR did that. Well, now it's done. Now you've got the tattoo on your forehead and you're going, man, I wish dad had told me I couldn't get that.
Let me just add something to that. You reminded me of something when I was a kid. Everyone wanted to get tattoos at some point, right? And this is directly to what your point. I wanted to get a Tasmanian devil. Right? Everyone was getting, you know, Warner Brothers characters
Yeah.
on the arm or on the, you know, like inner city tough guy stuff. And I wanted a Tasmanian devil. But I had the respect to not do it behind my family's back. So I went to my dad. I said, you know, I want to get a tattoo. I'm old enough. I'm 16 or something like that. He goes, okay, you can have it. And I went, really? He goes, yes, but I want you to wait a month. And then he bought a poster of the Tasmanian devil and gave it to me. And I hung it in my room. Right? Okay. A month later, I went back to him and said, you know what, Dad? I think I want Bugs Bunny now. And he's like, okay, let's wait a month. And so he bought me the point is, I got so fucking tired of looking at it that it was, and I'm a kid, right? I changed my mind. And then, you know, 5 years later, I was like, you know, how did you know? He goes, because I wanted to do the same thing.
Yeah, I was a jackass too.
From doing it. And my father beat the shit out of me. He goes, but I just kind of made you realize that a month isn't really a long time.
Yeah.
Anyway, I ended up giving myself a tattoo, but it wasn't one of those.
Yeah.
But he was right, you know, and he was the bad guy, and I fucking hated him. A poster, go to hell. What's a poster? I'm 16 now. I'm driving around. I want a poster.
I'm an adult.
Yeah, I'm an adult. Put that up for now, you know, and a month from now, if you leave that up in your room for a month and you still want the Tasmanian devil, I'll get it for you. I'll pay for it. And I was like, okay, that's stupid. Okay. A month later, it's like, Bugs Bunny? He's like, okay, let's do it again. Anyway, by the time it was over, I was like, screw that. I'll just get a poster.
Yeah, I'll just get exactly. And then that's the thing is you start looking at it and you go, yeah, I can't really. Oh, okay. You want us to not bomb Pearl Harbor or let them do it? All right. Well, give me your clothes. I'm gonna put you in a pinstripe pajama, and you're gonna go live in Auschwitz for a month.
Right.
You don't have blonde hair and blue eyes. This is what will happen to you.
That's right.
And you don't have and then again, it's the fine line of you also, this logic can very easily be used by evil people to just shove it down your face and go, oh, you don't want us to go fucking do this? Well, you don't know if it's, you know, and then it doesn't work because then you got fucking, you know, Dick Cheney probably using that logic to go into Iraq. And it's like, no, we probably could have avoided Iraq and nothing would be different. And like, except for there'd be a lot less dead people.
There are mistakes. Right? There are mistakes. Right. And there are things that we underdid that if we had acted sooner, you know, if we had not us per se, but if we had stopped Hitler at Poland, there would have been no World War II. You know, that type of stop them. Your point, Nick, going into Iraq was overkill and didn't help us any. Letting Hitler proceed in Poland was underkill and had consequences as well. Yeah.
And then the thing about it is like, you don't have the luxury of running 2 experiments. You don't have a luxury of doing a double-blind placebo where you go, what happens if we give this mouse vitamin A and then we don't give it to that mouse? And you see what happens and you okay, whatever. No, like this is all happening in real time. So we go, we don't have any luxury of saying what happens if we don't embargo Japan. By the time we maybe wait 5 years and go, okay, we should do it. Well, by now there's a whole new host of problems.
Right.
And you're going to want to run an experiment and see if you don't have that luxury. So as much as I, you know, shit on Biden and mock the left for cheering on the, you know, the war in Ukraine, man, there is also enough of like an adult in me that goes like, this might, they bring you into the skiff and under fucking NORAD and they're talking to you for 2 days and you finally come out of it and you go, this is the least worst option.
Right.
Thank God it's over there, not over here. What do you care? We're not drafting your buddies. We're sending ones and zeros. You don't understand. What do you care?
But that's the political divide, right? I mean, if you can see beyond the political divide, then you know that really I just don't like the person delivering the message. The message has to be delivered, which is goes back to what you said about Trump. We're embracing a lot of the policies that he had, but we're just not going to say that.
Yeah, and we're having our cake and we're eating it too. We are literally embracing all of Trump's policies. We're bringing
Yeah.
manufacturing back to the United States. We're bolstering the power of NATO. We're on a war footing with Russia and China. But Biden delivered it, and he has a black vice president instead of evil orange man.
That's
It's
right.
it's kind of hilarious.
It is really hilarious. Like
It is South Park.
I remember hating. I mean, to give you like how I flipped on this, I remember looking at Trump and president and saying, because he just cut a deal to like keep jobs American, and I went, that's bullshit. Apple's like I was rooting for Trump, but knowing it wouldn't work.
Yeah,
That's bullshit. Apple's going to have these new hires and then cancel 6 months later. And I was like, see, Trump, you're fucking, you're clueless. That's something, right? And then I'm listening to his points about protectionism in China. I'm like, yeah, he's fucking way right about that. Russia, not as much of a threat. Well, I think Russia needs to be given a little bit more carrot. They've been given too much stick for years. So he could be right about that. Immigration, I'm like, I think even your conservative anti-immigration presidents know that that's going to happen. They just use it as a vote getter. And then when he left, I'm like, okay, so now we don't hate China anymore. We hate Russia, right? Because we got a Democrat in the White House, right? It's like Hillary versus Trump, right? So now we hate Russia. I'm like, okay, so we're going to do some nice things and let China. And then I was like, okay, we're going towards Trump. Protectionism, mercantilism, soft return to the gold standard, which is coming. Trump's one of Trump's nominees for the Fed was like a gold standard person.
yeah.
And that's crazy. I'm not saying you can go back on the gold standard. I'm saying it's a sound money concept, which is fine. But I'm looking at all these things like protectionism. We're going to he was making a big deal. Tariffs, they do the same thing, but they emphasize different things. Trump, tariffs on Chinese goods being imported. Well, we don't have to worry about tariffs anymore. We're just not allowed to buy from them anymore, right? I mean, didn't Trump try to stop TikTok, and now we're doing that again?
Yeah, but Biden's doing it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's
so
like,
and on this point, man, you almost you go, oh, yeah, you get to stay in the Oval Office if you play the game, and people, although like philosophically, I did agree with Trump when he said, by definition, whatever I do is presidential. Yeah, sure. Philosophically, if I had to take a lie detector test, I'd agree with that.
Who said that?
Trump. Because they're like, he's not presidential the way he was acting.
Right.
Right. And he said, by definition, whatever I do is presidential, which, yeah, technically is funny. Yeah. But
that's right.
Man, you got to put on the suit and just kind of be that faceless, emotionless politician and deliver the message. Because otherwise, people get the thing about Trump is that like we said, we're doing everything Trump wanted, but we got a boring old white guy. And so no one cares. When you have someone as loud as Trump and he's tweeting from his toilet saying, like, your wife's ugly, like,
yeah,
though funny, and I'll never not think it's funny. He's the funniest president we ever had and will ever have.
Yep.
But in terms of the deep state, the military, industrial, corporate conglomerate that is the United States, you got to have a better PR guy than that, right? You got to have somebody's got to come out. There's a reason why Apple doesn't sponsor anyone. You ever notice that? No one's sponsored by Apple. When's the last time? When's the last time you've seen someone LeBron?
I haven't.
Never. They don't sponsor anyone. It's just cold, clean. Here's a new silver product delivered by our CEO. We don't address anything. We will never address the slave labor in China. We never have to worry about a sexual scandal with one of our sponsors. We never need to worry about LeBron James tweeting something. We never need to be, Bud Light with Dylan Mulvaney. We address nothing. The most we'll do is maybe put up a pride flag. That's it. Cold, calculating. Because of that, you don't give a shit. They're very quietly like number 2, number 3 most valuable corporation on earth. Very quiet. Just big silver headquarters, and they just deliver the iPhone. And every year, it's just that. That's all you care about. There's no emotion with it. There's no Republican, Democrat. Quiet, smooth, collected. They give you your phone, and you get your dividends. That's what the deep state military industrial complex wanted. You want a boring white guy that goes and signs papers, pardons the
Right.
turkeys, and shakes the hand. You don't
Right.
want Trump out there. As funny as Trump is, you don't want Trump heading up Apple. You don't
No,
want.
he's like Reagan off meds. And what I mean by that is
Yeah, no,
there,
you're right.
there was a loose, there was a there was a fearful quality that Reagan instilled because he was a great communicator.
Sure,
He did it and he did convey the message. But they were, speaking about Russia was a little scared. It's like, you know what? He might really do something stupid.
sure.
Whereas Trump, I was almost praying that he was really just acting over the
No, that he was
top,
bluffing.
constantly threatening. Remember North Korea? Constantly
Little,
threatening.
little, a big red button.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, no, that was. Yeah, man. I mean, it. As much as I did like him, I admittedly loved him.
yeah.
It wasn't good for business, man. It's you
No, it
can't.
wasn't.
I mean, under him, we had a fake nuclear alert go out to Hawaii.
I
Like, dude,
know.
that you're shaking the fucking, you're shaking the plane too much. It's too much turbulence.
But How many times did we have a false alarm with North Korea too? And after a while, it's just Trump.
Yeah,
It's no. If it really happened, we'd all be dead. We'd be like,
yeah,
it's just Trump. You
yeah.
know?
No, Trump. It's almost like they removed Trump not because of his message, but they removed him because he was too loud about it.
Yeah,
That's it.
that's definitely part of it.
That's it. No, it's
You know,
like we're doing everything Trump wanted, but we're just doing it with a boring white guy.
the thing that would have made me and here's I'll be this is actually what I thought about when Trump was president. I'm like, you know what? I know of him from real estate in New York back in the day, and his style back then, and this is what he did in the White House. His style back then was to all the other real estate developers. This is what he did. You're all corrupt. You're all doing X, Y, and Z. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z too, and I'm going to do it bigger than you, and better than you, and be more aggressive about it. And I'm going to flaunt it. And they were like, but he was basically saying, think about him with Hillary. He was saying to the real estate developers back in the day, and you're not going to rattle me because you're just as
Because you're
bad.
fucking doing it.
Right, right. And so that's what he did in the White House. And this is where I would go back and forth. I'm like, you know what? There's a part of him that knows he's just fucking going over the top. And I'm okay with that. But his second in command, whoever that is, whether it be
Mike
the
Pence.
vice president or the secretary of state, is not a person that he blindly trusts like a consigliere, like in a mob. It's a person like George W. Bush. Let's say he was a moron. I'm not saying Bush, but let's say he was. Cheney's evil, but at least Cheney knew what to do.
Yeah.
That's how I looked at it,
Yeah.
right? Trump is a petulant, immature child who knows what he's doing, likes to press the borders, and he doesn't have a guy. This is what bothered me about him. He didn't have a guy in a box, the opposite of a red button, who he would tap if he felt like he was going, who could say, dude, too much, back off. There was no one in his administration that he could do that with.
His VP should have been Hillary.
His VP.
Calm, cool, fucking
Oh,
cold-blooded
yeah.
bitch who
Oh,
you'd be
yeah.
like, Trump's wild, but I know Hill Dog's in that nuclear bunker.
Yeah.
She's controlling the reins.
And he would be the front man selling it. And she would be like,
He'd be the hype man. He'd be America's
Yeah.
dick is 10 feet long. And we're gonna fuck you in the ass and have quantum computers. And you'd be like, I know Hillary's talking to like the heads of state behind the scenes.
yeah. I mean, that's actually they are opposite sides of the same coin.
Yeah. That would have been an unstoppable take. Man, if Trump announces Hillary as his vice president from 2024.
That'd be great. That would be great.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
he was just too loud about it. And I also think that I think he was, and it's almost kind of sad. I think he was trying to, and I could be incredibly wrong on this, admittedly. He was looking at Jack Nicholson and he's going, oh, what you're doing is wrong. He looked at the endless war machine and was like, we're gonna pull out of Syria, we're gonna have NATO pay for everything.
yeah.
And the power that be were like, no, like there's a bigger thing. Like, we're doing a new Cold War. This started under Bush. Like, this is
Right.
bigger than you. And I think that's how, we always talk about how like China is more lethal because they have 50-year plans and 100-year plans, and we
That's
are
right.
always worried about the next election. Yeah, I don't really buy into that. I think we probably 50 years ago were like, we need to start having 10-year plans and 20-year plans, and the president will just act as a figurehead. I think Trump tried to, and he's not technically wrong, just like Jack Nicholson was technically wrong,
Right.
but he was shaking the apple cart, and they're like, no, dude, there's something much, much bigger than your 2 terms. And I think his ego is so big, it was like, no, I'm gonna put an end to the endless war, the fucking, and they're like, no, like
I
you're
think
out of
I
here.
think I think there's merit to that because I can't remember where I heard this, but it had to do with the philosophy of the strong president, and it started probably before George W. Bush, but it started with the president should what's called the Cheney was all about this, the executive power,
Yeah,
executive authority, single executive. I forget what it was, but and this came from it wasn't necessarily the Republican side. Cheney wasn't really a Republican. He was just a war guy.
he was just Darth Vader.
Yeah, he was Darth
He was
Vader.
just
Exactly.
eating babies for breakfast.
Exactly. Him and Christopher Reeve.
Yeah,
But they at one point they made the president. It was like Karl Rove and Cheney. The president has more executive power than people think. We're going to interpret it that way. And then 9/11 happened, and that got blown up, and it got really powerful. And Bush wasn't doing anything. Everyone was telling him what to do. At least that's my opinion. But now you have this newly, really powerful president, this authority, this uh, powerful executive branch, and then you've got Trump in there, right? And he's like, and they allowed the president to be powerful. Right? They allowed the presidency to be powerful before because they were telling the president what to do. Right? Now you've got a president who's got this power who you can't tell him what to do. So that's why that's really
he's got to go.
the pre-president, the president who has no power, who's just a figurehead, kind of like an inbred king, you know, signs autographs. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, you're right. Trump was the logical end of the powerful presidency.
There's kind of some poetic hilariousness in that, and that it's
Yeah.
like we can't give the government power because what happens when a bad person gets into power and it's turnkey tyranny. It's like the deep state had been giving the executive branch like king powers, and then all of a sudden some motherfucker got in there, and
Yep.
they're like, "Well,
That's
now
it.
it's bad," and it's like, "Well,
Yeah.
you're kind of reaping what you sowed."
Patriot Act is good, but we can't have the president giving that out anymore. You know,
Yeah,
that's exactly it. They took the power back from the presidency because Biden is an example of that. He's the opposite of Trump in this
yeah,
respect.
yeah. Biden's not doing anything. Biden's signing the fucking papers. He's just stamping it. He knows it's not. Which then I start to get intrigued of like, I wonder what the structure of whatever the real power is. Is it formalized? Do you think there's like a committee that's been there for like 80 years and they have their own private voting? Is it unofficial? Is it just whoever's got the biggest bank account kind of whispers in the ear? Or do you think there's like a formal, I don't know, probably, is it mapped out under continuity of government or some shit? And
We've
it's
got
the,
choices, right? We've got the 12 bankers in Switzerland. You got the whole
yeah, I wonder if there's actually an official structure to it.
right. I wonder. I mean, start with the Bilderbergs, maybe.
Yeah.
With the Bilderbergs, maybe there's a power structure there,
Yeah.
guys. There is one in China. There's the 10 elders decide who the president's going to be. Like that's real deal. That's real deal shit. And that exists. What is the Western equivalent of that? Uh, I don't know, but I think it exists, but it's informal. You know,
I don't think it's informal because it seems like they are just so buttoned up in everything they do. I think it's probably formalized, but it's probably, and they've hid it in some continuity of government shit. Like Eisenhower had the czar system, and it was like 12 or 13 guys from the biggest industries in the US that would take
right,
over all private industry in the wake of a nuclear war. And it was, the guys from the automotive industry, the guys from the fucking whatever, the home goods industry, the farmers. And then I think Kennedy abolished it. But Eisenhower had this whole thing, and it's like, although it was technically like crony capitalism, it would only go into effect after a war, and it was placed under continuity of government. I would imagine that they've dressed it up as continuity of government, but there's just some contingent of something, and it would be insanely classified.
Right. So if you can justify the appointment of a Caesar in times of crisis, which is what you're describing, and it's legitimate, I think that's legitimate. And then there's no crisis that comes. It reeks of crony capitalism, but it's not. It's not being justified. It's not being used. However, when there is no crisis, but there's a degree of crisis, there's a little bit of a problem. You're going to call those 12 guys.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's probably something like that. And it's like, so I was talking to a guy I had on here, Dr. Stephen Soloway. I think he was in Trump's administration. He's like a rheumatologist. And we just went down the rabbit hole of Cold War shit. And he was like, the biggest flaw in like the military industrial complex apparatus is that like any old person can be elected president, and then they're in charge of it all and they get to see everything. And I was like, which then makes you rationally conclude that no, they can't. If they're that buttoned up.
Right.
And then, well, Bill can, and he goes, well, of course. And, you know, he's like, I don't actually believe what I'm saying. That's kind of how I look at it. It's like, yeah, you probably have these guys who were like molded. The guys that like did what we did in the Cold War were all veterans of World War II, which comes back to the Jack Nicholson thing. Like they saw the millions dead.
Right.
These guys helped liberate Auschwitz and Birkenau and Chelmno. They saw the fire bombings of Japan. And they were like, yeah, we'll do a couple little assassinations in Soviet Germany if it means preventing that. And they're not wrong. And I look at everything they did. And I can't recommend this book highly enough, is Raven Rock by Garrett Graff. It's one of my favorite books. And I've had him on here a couple times. It's all about continuity of government. It's probably my favorite nonfiction book of all time.
Right.
And I look at everything they did and every contingency they had and contingencies for contingencies, and everything was to just to whatever it took to beat the Soviets. And I look at all of that and I go, can I really rationally conclude that they also didn't look at the office of the president, arguably the weakest link in the American chain? We were separated.
That's the speaking from an authoritarian point of view, from the whole Asian thing I was talking about. That's the weak link. That's the democracy, because that person's elected. So that's the figurehead. The American democracy model has become the old European monarchy model, meaning anyone can be president. They're just not involved in the real decisions.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I'm bringing this up because this is my handle. Soren Kierkegaard was a Danish philosopher, and they asked him, they said, what are the qualities a leader, a king must have? And they were expecting this big, you have to know the state and know. He's like, well, he must be able to sign his name, and he must be able to present well in parades. And they're like, why? He goes, because, and think about this. This is really, I think this is really, it may not come across. I'm not explaining it well, but
You are.
the monarch was the state. You think about England, the queen, no offense, but who gives a shit? She doesn't run the country, right? Well, the president is the modern king.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what's going on. And I'm not saying this cynically. By necessity, you can't have a democratically elected leader every 4 or 8 years coming to be shown the scope of what we're doing.
Yeah.
You can't. Otherwise, it's like you can be president for 8 years and then you get killed.
That would be it. Yeah, no, you would have to ice him.
You'd have to ice him. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd end up being on a Fox talk show, talking about you. The point is, the king must be able to sign his name and cut a good figure in public and allow himself to be, he didn't use the word lightning rod. He said the figurehead of the state must be viewed as the state. So I kind of look at it like The president is the lightning rod.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
did it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And they tell you that, and you go, you're going to be the lightning rod. It's fine. You're going to be protected by X Delta Force to the day you die. You're fine. No one's ever actually going to do anything. Yeah, your ratings will go up and whatever, but this is what it is. And
Right.
by the way, we're not offering you a choice. This is what it is.
Right. This is what
Or
it
you and
is.
your family are going to have a horrible car crash, and it's just going to be just so devastating. And we actually here's the plans of we'll show you how you'll do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's that's what it is. And
And the person who knows the most about how to run the country is really just the most senior guy who survived.
yeah,
The old guy that they go, dude, how do I fix it? How do I fix the water fountain again? It's that guy.
you can't bring in a new Tom Brady every year and say win the fucking champ. You got to have a Bill Belichick. You got to have someone that owns the like. It's like when people like you. I don't know shit about sports, but like from what I've gathered from other people, and they're like, yeah, no, this team like they're not going to have a winning season this year because they've decided that they're going to sacrifice this, that, and the other things so that they can get some first round picks next year. And I'm
Yeah.
always like, what? Why wouldn't you try to win it this year? And it's like they're looking at a bigger picture, you fucking retard. They're going, hey, if we try our hardest this year, we might break 500% win, a 500 win percentage.
Right.
We're not going to win the championship. But if we sacrifice everything and go 1-15 and whatever, next year we're going to be able to get some new hot Tom Brady motherfucker, and then we're going to come in, then we got a real shot at winning. You have to have someone that's there for a couple seasons that sees the big picture and goes, I understand the fans are going to hate me this year and that attendance is going to be low. It's fine. Next year, we're going to set up a fucking dynasty. Okay. And you see the big picture, and they're not wrong. So you can't have a guy come in and go, all right, Mr. President, you're just inaugurated. You gave your speech, blah, blah, blah. Here's the Oval Office. All right, sit down. So we've actually been in a silent Cold War for the last 5 years. Now we're developing an EMP weapon that could probably take out China tomorrow. Now they're moving nuclear weapons off the California seaboard. However, back in the 80s, we put some directed energy weapons in orbit. Now, after we released COVID-19 and the Chinese tried to infiltrate Pfizer and we didn't let them do that, so we invaded Ukraine. Now you'll understand why Macron has to be the head of France. Are you following? Okay, so Apple's going to release these new VR goggles, and that's actually the first stepping stone for this whole. Huh?
Right.
No, you go. Yeah, man. What are you fucking? You raise interest rates? All right.
I mean,
We'll build a new highway. You want your name on it?
let's look at it empirically. Forgetting about what we believe, and I know we believe this. Being the president and being on camera, especially Biden, right, all day long in the spotlight. How could he have any fucking time at all to assimilate that information?
Don't.
He can sign his name and he can look good in a parade. Maybe.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's really it, man. And it's like, what do you actually realistically do in that situation? Yeah, you go, dude, that is such like a intimidating situation. Like you get in there, man. Like, what do you like? I would go in there and I'd be the new sheriff in town. Yeah, I have the luxury of saying that because it'll never happen.
So
you actually do when you're in there and you're fucking meeting with the head of the fucking CIA.
right.
He's going, Mr. Carrigan, this is what we're doing. Well, I'm going to tell you, Mr. Director.
All right, let me ask you this. Trump didn't know his place, or Trump was a plant. Meaning Trump stepped into this whole comment about the strong president thing and didn't know his place, and they lost control of it, so they had to get rid of him. Or Trump was an accelerant. They put him in there, let him win, because it allowed us to, I'm simplifying it. It allowed us to demonize China and blame him. So
Yeah.
I mean, I always feel like
I don't think that's an absurd idea at all.
you don't think that's crazy?
No.
That he was like, okay, let's,
He's the fall guy. You're the orange man. Go in there and do everything we want you to do.
right.
Or
It could be.
or they had COVID on the fucking, they had it in the shelves and they're like, Trump actually did get away from them. And they were like, well, we were going to fucking use this thing anyway.
Right.
Why
Right.
don't we just do it now? Fuck this guy anyway. Let's just use this. We'll just knock him out. Let's get this thing started. We wanted to invade Ukraine in 2025. Fuck it. We've got a little leeway with this. It'll be messy, but we'll shoehorn it.
Remember how paranoid he was of like coup stuff.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And my cousin, a Marine, I said, what's that all about? Why is he always surrounded by Marines? And he's like, well, in the military, the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force will show loyalty to the Constitution. So they'll, right? Because the Marines, however, we have a disproportionate loyalty to the office. So Marines don't do coups, So that's why he's a big Marine and ex-Marine fan. So maybe he knew he was pissing a lot of people off. The question is, did they want him to piss a lot of people off? The other guy.
Yeah, I always go back and forth with that of was he in on it or not.
I don't think he was in on it, but
He might have been, man.
no, I'm gonna disagree with you. I'm gonna say he didn't think he was in on it. He thought it was. He's got a very big, very fragile ego,
Yeah.
and he was with it. And they thought they were manipulating him, and he got a little bit out of control. And they're like, okay, we got to get rid of this guy. It's time to pull him out. Let's kill this character in the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Let's kill him.
And the character, yeah.
Yeah, let's, the guy wants another fucking 4 years, Nah,
he's washed up. He's not worth 50 million.
Exactly. Write him off. Write him off. Listen, we just wanted him to piss China off a little bit. This guy wants to actually he's talking to North Korea friendly now. We can't have that shit.
I think that makes me think he wasn't part of it. He was bringing in too many peace deals, man.
He was.
Especially in the Middle East. Yeah. And you don't have to like Trump, but it's an objective fact, man. He got North and South Korea to talk.
Right.
You have the people in charge going, what the fuck are you doing?
Was it him when he's such a and I like this about him because I knew where he stood. He's what you call a classic corporatist economically. Like you have your modern bankers are financially oriented, all about financial leveraging. But Trump was a classic corporatist, meaning he didn't care about the financing of it. He wanted the building to make money renting property. He wanted classic industrial capitalist. That's basically another way to look at it. And I remember him saying, it was him or someone working with him saying, we're leaving troops there to protect the oil. There's sweet, beautiful oil. Or something.
Yeah.
Like, who talks like that? But when it was over, I'm like, oh shit, he said the quiet part out loud. He said, we're there to protect the oil. And you can't have that. Anyway, I know that he was doing that whole New York thing. Listen, I know that you don't build your buildings up to code. I know, and I'm going to do it worse. And I'm going to bribe people more than you. And I'm going to make headlines doing it. And you guys aren't going to say shit.
Fucking word.
Take you all down. And that's I'm telling you, that's his life. He did that in New York in real estate. And he did in the White House too.
And he just goes in there. He's like, what are you going to do? Deactivate me with some Epstein videos? I got videos of you too, fucker.
That's right. So like, okay.
And then eventually they probably just go, well, he's in there. He's burning it all down. They probably drew up the 2020 election. They go, all right, we're going to knock him out in 2020. Now let's just get as much. Let's just swipe this credit card until he's done.
That's right.
We're going to put Space Force. We're going to do a record defense budget. And we're going to fucking, I don't know. We're going to do everything. We're going to start.
He's on his way out. We've got to, that's
like COVID. We'll do. Yeah.
That's literally what a scapegoat is.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard the history of what a real scapegoat is?
No.
It's some religion. It might be Middle Eastern. I'm not sure. The whole concept of a scapegoat is you take the village or whoever the people are, you take your sins or whatever they are, your violations of the culture, and you put them in a bag and you tie the bag to the goat. And then you send the goat out to the desert. Kind of like the point is the scapegoat, you attach your
it's Jesus.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's a scapegoat. That's exactly it. It's another version of it. But that's what. So Trump's on his way out of office. We know he's going to die, metaphorically on the cross, and it's like let's
tack it all on
there.
Swipe everything. Order whatever drink you want. Yeah, no, we're putting it on his tab. He passed out. I still have his credit card. Yeah,
Well,
Space Force. Yeah, just put it on there.
clean slate, man. I mean, Fauci. I mean,
Swipe, swipe.
gosh,
Piss off China. Yeah, fuck it. Release COVID. Swipe, swipe, swipe.
right.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, Trump was supportive of Fauci. He was being a good soldier. But after a while, he's like, this guy's kind of fucked up. Yeah, we're doomed. We're just doomed, man. But I'm going to sign off on the bigger picture.
Okay.
I'm on the picture now.
You're on board with the Cold War?
I'm on board. No, I'm not on board with it. But I mean, the ideal side of me wants to be railing against it.
I'm gonna go pure
It gets
American,
me.
and I'm gonna say I'm okay with it happening so long as I don't have proof it's happening.
Yeah.
Let me sleep well.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about it.
We are no better than Nazis. You do what you have to do to get rid of the Jewish problem. I don't want to know about it.
The Nazis were bad salesmen. The Nazis were bad salesmen. And then, by the way, I don't want to minimize that, but yeah, that's right. People that do horrible things, we do horrible things. We just sell it better. Yeah.
Are we any better than if we're signing off on it? We're saying just don't tell me about it.
You don't want to go down these rabbit holes with me. I think about shit like that all the time.
Well, that's the thing is you gotta it's good to look into the mirror and to know what you really are. I know what I really am. And I'm gonna sit on here on this podcast and self-righteousness and say it's bad. And then I'm gonna reap all the rewards of living in a safe society with cheap electronics. I'm not actually gonna do anything. I'm gonna tell you it's wrong.
No, that's totally right. Here's the metric that I look at, and it's my version of what you're doing right now, like what you just did, that exercise you did. My version is big picture individual rights, right? So it's like big picture, can I justify that? In big picture terms, I can. In little picture terms, I can't. And then I go, well, how do I make these two things happen? One version is I don't want to hear about it, right? The lies we tell ourselves. The other version is it's kind of like trading. Where's my indifference point? My indifference point is little picture. If it's my children, I'm against the big picture. If it's my cousins, I'm against the big picture. If it's my mother, and you find the indifference point, and you say, okay, as long as it's actually an exercise, as long as it doesn't use it like if Russia, at what point would you justify blowing Russia off the map? Right? Let's use Russia here, right? At what point would you absolutely nuke and destroy all of Russia? Well, if they blew up my kids, I'd be like, yeah, let's blow Russia up, right? But it ends up being like South Jersey. Like, I'll let them get as close as South Jersey, but any closer than that, like it's like it's really not in my backyard. Follow me? Like, I'm all about the big picture until you turn my water off.
Yeah.
And that's it. So I look at it in terms of how many people would I be willing to sacrifice in my life for the big picture? That's the answer.
And that's where you get down to the NORAD bunker planning, the Doctor Strange of 40 to 50 million deaths, an acceptable number.
Acceptable number.
Man, that's what it comes down to. And I think that's why I think our involvement in Ukraine is just the next evolution of the military-industrial complex. We're not going to send a single U.S. soldier, just money. And we all go, all right, yeah, that's fine.
That's right. No wars will be fought by American people anymore.
No, I think it's finished. I think all we do now is we're going to supply weapons, and at most we'll supply like drones, like automated.
We can't have a draft. We can't have a draft. That will never fly again. Chips, weaponized war, drones, space lasers. That's where we're going.
Yeah.
Everything else is money. And yeah, you can have, F-16s. That's like a fucking 1980s plane. Who cares?
Yeah, that's old shit. That's old shit, man. That's the leather jacket. Like, no, fuck off. That's old school, man. Nobody's doing that anymore. That's what we're doing. No, it's brilliant. Is we're selling it more. We're just selling it better and better. It's going to be automated shit made by Apple. We're going to go, yeah, it wasn't. Okay, I get that we released a pack of Marine dogs into that village and they shot all those Russians. And yeah, some women and children died, but we didn't send any Marines over there. They're robots, and those robots make jobs. Somebody's got to build them. I didn't kill anybody. I just screwed the rivet in.
On balance, it's a good thing. Yeah.
Man,
All right.
that's through the looking glass.
It is. It is. And it works because if 15,000 people start thinking about it like, oh, that's my kid, all you have to do is just take care of them. There's a price, there's a dollar amount for that.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's 4:30. We've been
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah, we've been at it for a minute. It's which comes back to the full circle conclusion of this is what I think's gonna happen. It doesn't mean I support it. I think
Right.
this is what's gonna happen. And that is the real beauty of the American empire is we can listen to this 2 hour, 14 minute, and 53-second podcast, and we can get riled up. And then you can exit out and go jerk off and scroll Reddit.
That's
The
right.
war is not in your backyard. You are not hearing that belt-fed machine gun go off. And
We
that
have
is
the
the
luxury.
beauty of the empire.
We have the luxury.
It's a slippery one to sit with.
Which to bring it back full circle, and that's why the Cold War, as much as we can bitch about it, and as much as we have disdain for its existence, and we see its inevitability, we recognize that it's better than a big nuclear hot war.
It's the
And
least worst option.
hypocrites saying it. And at dinner parties, we can argue against it, but we need that on the wall.
We deep down inside, none of us are actually going to protest Jack Nicholson being on the wall.
That's
we're gonna tell each other to self-righteous rage. He's a bad man.
Better him than me.
Yeah, better him
than me.
Yeah, I can tell my wife he's a bad guy. I would never do that, honey.
No, I would never do that.
But we're never gonna take him off the wall.
That's right.
As a matter of fact, if he tries to get off the wall, I'm gonna say privately, I really need you on the wall. I can't admit it at dinner parties, but can you stay there?
Yeah, somebody's got to be the bad guy. That's Scarface.
Mm-hmm.
Hello to the bad guy. Say goodnight to the bad guy.
Yeah, I'm the evil guy, right? You can hate me. You can put all your problems on me. That's
right.
Is.
That's right.
That's what it is, man. That's what it is, and it's where we're going. And so, in conclusion, I would say, put a lot of money in Raytheon. I think that's my final advice to everyone on this show is go invest in Raytheon or General Dynamics and make some money off it.
And you should feel good because you're not pulling the triggers that are shooting the bullets.
You're buying a stock. You're just going on E-Trade and clicking a button on your screen. It's just ones and zeros. You didn't screw that infrared seeker head on the top of that Hellfire missile.
We're going to burn in hell, aren't we, for knowing this?
Forever and ever.
Forever. We're going to burn in hell. We can't wait.
All right, dude. Vince, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Thanks for going down the rabbit hole with me, guys. Please go in the description, follow him on Twitter, and dude, love to do it again sometime. Thank you, man. A lot of fun. Oh yeah, dude. It's been a dark conversation. We're going to hell. All right, guys. Thank you for